I promise we get right back to the phones. We've got John in Sterling Heights. John, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Great show as always. Hey, I work at a college. I work in college admissions. And, one thing we're not really considering here, we're kind of saying, well, hey, if you take classes and they're not progressing to a degree, they're kind of lost credits, why even do it? How many kids switch majors and stay at a school, but switch majors and lose all these credits? That was still valuable time in the classroom. So whether a kid is switching majors or whether they are switching schools. Plus, there are people like me who these universities pay to make sure that as many of those credits that can transfer will transfer. So it's not necessarily the case that just because the kid switches schools 2-3 times, hey, they're losing all those credits, they're never going to get this degree. They still might have a pathway to a very good degree. And if they're really motivated, they're going to find a way to do it, and that university is going to find a way to do it. So I think we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit. Time in class is important. Whether or not that credit transfers to a degree or not, it's still a valuable experience, and we're still insisting on that in college sports. So I don't think we're just throwing it away to be a semi-pro league. We're still insisting that they be in class, and that's valuable time.
I would agree that, it is valuable time, but I would disagree.
It's going to take longer to graduate.
Yeah. And you're going to run out of scholarship. Then it's on you. And,
I can only give you so much of an advantage. I can only give you 5 years or even 6 years free. I can only give you access to all the tutors and the trainers.
There can be some rules in place. In the NFL, there's rules. You sign contracts. And that's where I think this is ultimately going to go. People always want to know, because we're going to sit here and we're going to bicker about it. I think I'm right. You think you're right. You and I aren't going to agree on this. But it eventually is going to get to, because we've seen it in the Ivy League. All right, they've unionized. And now, eventually, that's what's going to happen. They will be employees of the university, but they will be signing contracts to work for that university. Part of that contract will be spelled out. You're going to get, 24 credits by the end of your freshman year. You're going to have 36 or whatever it is, and there's going to be a progress, but it's going to be 2 years, 3 years that you sign this contract. And there needs to be a free agency period. Like, that's all the things that we have. We have rules in place in professional sports for a reason. And why not have some of those rules in place at the college level? And I don't care about coaches and talking about, roster construction. They were the ones that started this mess by, I'm going to leave after 2 years because I can get paid more over here. I'm going to leave just because I don't like something. They didn't build the facilities I thought they were going to build. Like, all of that is what has started this rat race. And now it's trickled down to the athletes. But at some point, there has to be some rules in place. It can't just be a free-for-all. And that's what college sports feels like right now, an absolute free-for-all.
It'd be more of a free-for-all if they do away with any transfer penalties.
I'm gonna go to Michigan State for a year, then I'm going to transfer to Ohio State for a year. Then I'm going to make the tour around the Big Ten. I'm going to go to Rutgers for a year. I'm going to go out to USC for a year. By the time you're done, what does your degree even say if you get one?
So it's kind of like that old Big Ten commercial where they kind of span the whole geographic. Yeah. And now I'm over here in the birthplace of college football, Rutgers. Alan, you're next up. You're on 97.1. Good morning, Alan.
Hey, good morning. Great show, guys. And my point is very complicated, and there wouldn't be enough time. I'm not an economist, but bottom line here, it's all about the money, as you guys know. Mm-hmm. So you're a college athlete in the past, and the quarterback got the same scholarship as the guy that was second or third string, and that wasn't fair. And now with kids able to transfer from school to school for economics or engineering or whatever, the athlete should be able to transfer as well. And antitrust laws probably will be tested, and I think they'll win. The reason why in an economy you would have free market or something that has restrictions, dare I say socialist ideas, principles, like where John made his money. The National Football League is probably the premier socialist entity in the country, guided by affirmative action, salary caps, and dare I say, redistribution of wealth. And it functions very well because 31 capitalists in the city of Green Bay have created a business model that creates capital, money, green capital, and all other kinds of capital. And these students now kind of want the same thing, a free market, and things will filter down. But what John said, I think there will be rules. They will sign a contract. There will be a capitalist/socialist program for college athletes in the future. I hope I don't sound like an idiot, but I'll hang up and listen.
Capitalism versus socialism, 248. No, I think some of this, just to rein it back into sports, is through the lens of competition. The reason the NFL has a redistribution of wealth is so that everybody can compete on as level a playing field as possible. We know college is not a level playing field. Michigan competes at a completely different level than Western Michigan, for example, or Alabama versus UAB in Birmingham. It's not quite the same thing. So I do think we see these giant swings in college sports because of that. Well, and maybe your thing is like guardrails. Come on, dude, just a little bit to just keep everybody in bumpers on the lane so this doesn't go in the gutter.
Yeah, and right now there's no direction. Right now there's no rules. There's no guardrails, as you put it, in regards to NIL, because it varies by state. Sometimes it even varies inside the state by university.
All right, but what you guys are saying, okay, look at the mega conference concept, right? We all think we're moving towards it.
Yeah.
Everybody said, wow, this is going to look like the NFL one day. Is this actually college football and some people involved in it, getting out in front, expanding the playoff, creating the revenue source? It's going to create a lot more money. There's no way college football is sustainable with a salary-structured contract system with over 100 college football programs. But it is sustainable if you dumb it down to 48, 40, 32 teams in mega conferences and copy the NFL.
So you're saying as much as people hate the mega conferences, it might be what provides the structure that people are craving.
Right. And the whole thing is they're expanding this playoff already. They're trying to rush it. Why? To get the TV money to start paying back the players.
Well, and so it'll eventually, and who knows what it ends up being called. Brand awareness is a big part of this. Is instead of the AFC, NFC, is it just going to be Big Ten and SEC? Because we keep hearing,
South.
Yeah, because we keep hearing about, Florida State, Clemson wanting to get out of the ACC. They want to get out in front of this so that they're a part of that mega conference. They don't want to wait 10 years because this isn't going to wait for them to be able to get out of the ACC.
This makes you wonder, the rush to get to this TV money. I mean, because it's going to explode. We talked about the model, the way we've already seen the future playoff structure going to play out, that Peacock will buy the Thursday night game of the when you're down to the final 8 teams, the quarterfinals, the outsourcing, going to different multiple TV platforms to get the biggest bang for your buck so they can soak it back into the universities and use some of that money to pay the players under contracts.
Yeah, I mean, that's eventually where we're going. It's going to be a painful road to get there, unless somebody just grows up and says this is where we're going. So we get there, and you have your mega conferences, and then you have a playoff system for the conferences that are just below that, and then just below that. We already have it D1, D2, D3, but you're going to take Division I and divide that up even more.
A lot of moving parts. Take it back to the athletes here for a second. Some ticket text. Jansen's right. College football was great because of loyalty. They were loyal to the logo of the school. Nowadays, they don't care about the school. That's why college football is going downhill. All caps, no loyalty. Well, I think it's like anybody. I mean, you take the job that you like, not the job you feel like you have to stay at. You go somewhere that's better.
But everybody else signs contracts. For at least a lot of jobs have contracts. You're there for 2 years or 3 years. The NFL, Major League Baseball, all the pro sports have contracts.
We need the opposite. Transfers need to be limited. If not, college football becomes the G League. And another one says, I'm with John. These student athletes are surrounded by people who think they're going to the league. Someone needs to help guide them so they become productive in society after their playing days.
And it's not, I don't want to sit here and talk about, well, you can only be successful if you have a college degree.
No.
That's not the case. But if you have that opportunity, the math still works out that those on average with a college degree make more throughout the course of their life than those that don't. So if you have that opportunity, and it is part of the deal, you are going to a college or university to play a sport and be a student. And I know that gets lost in everybody, but not everybody. In fact, very few of them go on to be professional athletes.
You sound like the commercial that they were running. Not all of us are going to go pro.
Yeah,
pro in something other than sports.
And I realize that the way this is going, everybody has gotten on board with, well, they should be able to make their own decisions. And I'm pro decision. There's no question with that. But I'm also, you got to have some guardrails in place for a portion of the population that's not really ready to make all the best decisions in the world. And I think I've been there.
Yep.
And I've got some kids that are entering that phase. And I know that they are ready to make some decisions, but some more of them, they're going to still continue to need guide rails. Those are going to come from dad. Others need to come from their university and to help them along the way.
People are all fired up about this. We're going to take more phone calls, talk to you guys about it. The idea that the transfer portal could become even more active. The idea that any restrictions at all would be removed from the portal. Beyond your first transfer, you could transfer as much as you want. It's being looked at this month. It's 97.1.
Hey, when it comes to managing your finances, you need a bank that gets you and is genuinely interested in your success. That's why I bank with First Merchants Bank. Whether it's your business banking or day-to-day personal banking, First Merchants Bank is 100% interested in helping you prosper. First Merchants bankers are attentive, and they're going to sit down, they're going to ask you questions, find out as much as they possibly can about you and your situation. They're going to build a financial plan that fits you and your situation. And when you make the switch to First Merchants Bank, you're also going to get access to their highly rated mobile banking app with innovative personal finance tools. They're deeply connected to the community's needs because it's their community as well, and they volunteer and donate on a regular basis to local causes to ensure that we all prosper together. And this, in totality is the difference of 100% interest in you. For a better banking experience, visit firstmerchants.com. That's firstmerchants.com. First Merchants Bank, helping you prosper. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Smoked it. Dan Dickerson on the call. Pirates beat the Tigers. Detroit's lost 3 in a row. They play the Pirates today, 12:35. We talked about it. Hot start was fun while it lasted. 3 straight losses, back down to earth, little expose. They can't hit. Say the quiet part out loud. They can't hit 2 extra base hits. And when your pitcher gets hit up a little bit, you're out of the game before you even sit down and settle in.
Maybe we can get a little NIL going for the Tigers.
Yeah, could we? Does Baez need more money? I don't think so. Let's get back to the phones. We're talking, name, image, and likeness. This all started because John found a story. This month, we could see all restrictions to the transfer portal taken away, meaning you can transfer as many times as you want every single year without sitting out. Now, not in season. You can't go from 1 week to the next.
There's 2 times a year the transfer portal opens up. You can enter it and then be immediately eligible at your next school.
Yeah. And he said, well, this is going to hurt the progress towards graduation. I said, who the hell cares if they graduate? You called me selfish, use some profanity in a company email. I don't care, but they're going to yell at you for it probably. Yeah. And we brought that conversation to the air, and people have brought that passion to it. It's been a good conversation. We're going to wrap it up here. Let's get to Justin in Madison Heights. Justin, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is something I'm pretty passionate about. You guys got me fired up enough this morning. John, it's a rare occasion, no disrespect that I agree with you, but, man, I am 100% with you on this. I see this as like a bigger symptom of a trend in society where we no longer value experience, we no longer value wisdom, and we don't value commitments anymore. We're moving to a place where we promote the individual, we give the individual all the pathways they need to do what's best for them without consideration of other factors. And this is just the latest thing. I absolutely think that it's our job as a society, as these colleges, to help guide these young adults to a path to be the most successful that they can be. And we all know the statistics. I don't need to bring them up. Most players don't go play professional sports. So it's our job to help guide them to get that degree, to get something that they can better excel in life at. And I hate this. I hate where this is moving. I hate that it's all about money. What do you guys think?
Oh, Justin, I'm with you, and I'm glad that we can agree on something. Oh,
I moved on from him.
Moved on from him.
He did hear you say that before we disconnected the call. So you did break bread and grow closer as friends, and that's exciting for you guys. I don't know your relationship with Justin.
Don't either.
You made it sound like, we got this long-standing thing. I can never agree with you. But on this, John, you and I are on the same page. But it is a little bit of the arrogance of like, well, they need our guidance. Like, who knows better than the person what's best for them? These are young adults. Of course, you want opinions, you want guidance, you want help, but they should be free to make the decisions and the mistakes. That's my thought.
But we're also a society that does have rules in place. We have laws that govern us as a society. We have rules in place, just in regarding a lot of things. So why is it so bad to have guardrails, rules, parameters in place to when you are going to college or university, that you should be progressing to that degree? Now, I'm not saying graduating. Like that is, I had a lot of teammates in college. I had a lot of teammates in the NFL that left early, that didn't finish their degree even after 4 years. And then it's upon them at the end to go and finish that if that's something they want to do.
So then if they're not going to get the degree, who really cares about the progress towards the degree? Right? I mean, am I wrong in questioning that?
Well, because there's the vast majority of them are not going to be professional athletes. They're going to be professional in something else. So while you're doing this, you can progress to that degree. And then all of a sudden, you wake up after 5 years at a university or multiple universities, and you're sitting there going, wait a second, I'm going to be 20 credits shy. And then you go to university, hey, I get another year of scholarship, right? No, sorry, you're done.
And how much is it a credit hour again? Yeah, no kidding.
And so that's where we're looking at, because, again, it's so rare. And I've always felt blessed that I had that opportunity to go be an NFL player, but I didn't know if that was going to last past my rookie season, if I was going to sustain an injury. Like, there's a lot of different things that can happen, and you have an opportunity to have a fallback plan. The fallback could be a lot of things. I'm not saying it has to be a college degree, but if you're there, part of that deal is that you're going to get a degree. We're giving you a scholarship to get a degree and play sports for us.
Last word on it. Steve, use your time effectively. You're on 97.1.
Hey, guys. John, I just wanted to ask a question. When you got your scholarship, was it for 4 years or was it year to year?
It's all scholarships are 1 year renewable at this time. But
okay, and you do look at that kind of as a contract. You do sign that. You make a commitment to the student, the student athlete and the university, right?
Well, we're talking about two different eras of sports, because at that time when Gary Moeller sat down, Lloyd Carr sat down, they weren't going to pull my scholarship unless I did something illegal and I wasn't able to be a part of the university anymore.
Right, but what I'm saying is the university has an option after a year to go a different direction if they want to. So why can't a student athlete have that same opportunity if he sees things aren't going the way he wants them to go? Why shouldn't he be able to go wherever he wants to go? Well, say he leaves that first year, and all of a sudden, coach gets fired. You're in with a new regime. You're stuck there.
No, you're not. You have a chance to transfer right now.
What if it's your second stop, John? Then you don't.
But again, and this is where when I started this conversation, it was the coaches started this ball rolling. Mm-hmm. And it's coaches' salaries, it's coaches moving from school to school or to the NFL. It's also the fact that, and I mentioned there's two eras. There was an era where when you told me, hey, we're going to give you this opportunity for 4 years, that fifth year was going to be optional. We have to invite you back for that, but it's going to be for 4 years. They stuck to that commitment. That's not necessarily the case anymore. So I understand where this is all going, but there has to be rules in place. So instead of making a 4-year scholarship or a 1-year scholarship, make it a 4-year scholarship. Make it a contract.
Exhale. All right, let's get to Heather with the news.
All right, so James and Jennifer Crumbly are being sentenced today. The sentencing hearing is going on right now. I obviously can't hear it, but I am watching it on my phone. They're sitting there in court. There is talking going on. You had asked if there is going to be any statements made by the parents of those that were killed. And yes, so sentencing will happen after victim impact statements.
I'm glad they're getting the opportunity if they want to make that statement.
Yep. The prosecution is seeking 10 to 15 years in prison for each parent. Both have been in jail since they were arrested on December 4th of 2021. They're asking to be sentenced to time served. So we'll see what happens shortly, very, very soon. A Florida woman who says she was directed by God went on a shooting spree during the eclipse. You knew you were going to hear about something bad happening during the eclipse, right?
And in Florida?
Yes, and it was a Florida woman.
What did God tell her? And did she say what he sounded like?
She didn't. I don't think she gave an impression, but she was staying at a hotel or a motel, and she told the staff there that she woke up and God said it's time for me to go shoot people. So that's what she did. So she was on a Florida highway when she opened fire, striking passing cars multiple times. So glass fragments from the window fell on one driver and a bullet grazed his arm. He was able to pull over, expected to be okay. The other driver was hit in the neck, had to be taken to the hospital. The woman was eventually pulled over. Police found an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun in her vehicle. She's facing several charges, including attempted murder. Jeez Louise.
I think he would probably sound like Morgan Freeman.
Probably.
Morgan Freeman played God in
Bruce Almighty.
Yes. That was I thought that was a terrific voice for God. Or is it more God.
James Earl Jones? I always
Could be
picture it more of a James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Could be that too. Yeah. So some Farmington Hills firefighters helped deliver a baby in a parking lot last Friday. This is like every couple's worst fear, right? Your wife's in labor, you're driving to the hospital, and you're hoping you get there in time. This couple didn't make it there. So it was around 5 a.m. And a couple was rushing to the hospital. The wife was in labor. The husband decided to call 911, and he was hoping to get a police escort. Like, hey, can you just get us through these red lights, get us to the hospital? But they said, no, the best bet is for you to pull over and we'll send you an ambulance. We don't need you racing, speeding to the hospital. We'll do that. So that's what they did. They pulled over, but things happened really, really quickly. Farmington Hills firefighters, their paramedics got to the scene quickly, and about 2-3 pushes, boom, this little baby arrived right there in the parking lot. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Everyone's doing good. They got, the mom was able to walk from the vehicle to the ambulance, got her in there, took her to the hospital to get, checked out, make sure the baby's okay, everyone's healthy. But
moms are amazing. Moms are amazing.
Absolutely are.
They're the toughest of all of us.
What's your reaction to this, having had 2 kids?
I'm thankful that I got to the hospital in time because this was the woman's second child, and my delivery happened very, very quickly for Brooks. So it was, if I wouldn't have been there, it could have been this, I guess, which is terrifying. I can't imagine having to, and the husband was terrified too. Like his wife's starting to scream, saying this baby's, it's on its way out. He's like, oh my gosh.
No, it's not.
You're fine. It's going to be okay. Yes. Don't worry. The NCAA Women's Championship between Iowa and South Carolina set a record on Sunday, drawing 18.7 million viewers on ABC and ESPN. At its peak, the game brought in 24 million viewers. This game was the most watched women's college basketball game since 1992, and it marks the largest audience for any basketball game, men's, women's, college, or professional, since 2019. Pretty incredible. Obviously,
it was a great event.
Driven by players like Caitlin Clark. Yeah. Of course, people wanted to tune in and watch.
Yep.
Incredible. I'll save this one for tomorrow. This is one I can hold over.
Okay.
It's an interesting one.
Oh, all right.
We'll stay tuned. Yes. A 24-hour wait. It's going to be something real juicy. That's Heather with the news. Coming up next, we got a big Red Wing game tonight, and I have a big announcement. It's 97.1.
I know I was facetious, but Heather did give a little sneak peek there. The story that she's going to mix into news tomorrow. I don't know what hour it's going to be.
Oh, it's epic.
But
It's a good one.
it's got all the hot
It's got all
buttons.
the makings, yes, of something that you just don't want to miss, because I have no idea how, when Jim hears the totality of the story, that's the second time now I've used the word totality. I'm going to try and fit that into as many opportunities as possible.
You haven't heard all of it. I just gave you like
just
a little
teaser.
Appetizer, an hors d'oeuvre. Speaking of totality, just a quick update for people who listened yesterday. You made the plunge.
I did.
And you didn't make it there.
I didn't make it there. You know, we kind of knew it. I said that it could be a huge bust yesterday because it was a last-minute plan to try to get to Ohio. And I wouldn't say it was a bust. Yes, we were bummed we didn't actually get to the path of totality. That's what we ultimately wanted. So we were bummed. But all in all, it was a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Loaded up the kids, got to a park. We were just north of Luna Pier, so we were very close, but we ultimately decided we didn't want to be stuck in the car to see it.
Yeah.
We wanted to be out of the car, get the kids out, let them play. We found a park, and that's what we did. So we enjoyed it with everybody in the park. Still a really cool experience.
A lot of people shamed you on
did.
Ticket Takes earlier. If people missed it, well, it'll be podcasted. You can use the Odyssey app, rewind, go back and listen to it.
But you stated exactly what you wanted out of the trip.
Yeah.
It was you and Colin and the kids for, what was it, 4 hours, 5 hours?
We were in the car for probably altogether 4 hours max.
And
it wasn't that bad.
You got out what you wanted.
We did.
We did too.
And there's this whole pushback. Well, we making such a big deal about it. It's just the sun. Guys, people are excited. It was a cultural, social thing to do.
Yeah.
I think it's weird when people act like they're too cool for stuff like that. You didn't need to make a 4-hour drive or a weekend of it.
You could have done it how you wanted to do it.
Walk out on your porch and see it and go, that's cool, because it was cool. But anyway, we talked to Eclipse earlier today. They got tonight the Red Wing game. And John, I will be in attendance.
Yeah, and you're going to profess to something? Make a claim?
They're winning this game.
Oh.
This is a Costa lock. The Detroit Red Wings
cash the ticket. Here we go.
Winning this hockey game.
What's the final score? I want to know.
You want exact score?
Yeah.
It feels like a 4-2 kind of game.
Ooh.
4-2. Is that what you held up over there?
4-3.
4-3.
Yep, there we go. Yep.
Nail biter. I'm excited. I bought these tickets on Sunday right after they beat the Sabres. Total impulse buy. Said, I want to be there. This is a big game for the Red Wings. One of only 2 home games the rest of the way. It's a real playoff push. They picked up points in 3 of the last 4. Wins in 2 of the last 3. They're playing well. The Caps are reeling. This is the spot to cement yourself. You pick up this win. You create a little separation. You already have a game extra against Pittsburgh. Start winning some of these games. You've got this. This team's making the playoffs. But you got to win tonight. And, John, they're winning tonight.
Wow, I tell you what, Newsy was hoping to bring in Dan Campbell. I think he needs to bring in Jim Costa. The little pregame speech there.
No.
I mean, you are – if all Red Wings fans, those showing up at the LCA, show up with your energy, it will give them an advantage.
I'm hoping that it is going to be kind of as close as we've had to a playoff atmosphere for the Red Wings. This is as close as it's been.
I 100% think that's the way LCA will be tonight. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. It's win and get in. Or more importantly, it's lose and you're probably toast.
Well, that's part of this too. Losing hurts so much more than winning at this point in the season. Winning doesn't put them in. Winning gives them a great advantage.
It gives them another step.
Losing feels agonizing. So I am setting myself up for that. This was an impulse buy.
You don't seem like a impulse kind of guy.
I don't feel like I do a ton of impulse buys.
Yeah.
But my wife loves hockey too. This is one of the things that we share. She doesn't really care about football or baseball or anything else. So she's excited to go. And she's like, do you want to go? Yes, I already bought the tickets. Oh. Yes, go ahead and made them. We're going. We're going. Just waiting for the green light.
Funny you ask.
Funny. But I will be there. Do you share?
That is... It's always better to ask forgiveness than permission. And then since she came up with it, you just should have said, you know what, let me look. And then 5 minutes later, you come back out and you're like, I was able to find some really good tickets.
Actually got a decent deal. The tickets that we bought are now, I think like $70-$80 more per seat today than when we bought them on Sunday.
Give us your key tagline.
What? Value!
There you go.
So a couple questions. Red Wing game tonight. Anticipation level, excitement level, confidence level. They're playing better. This is a golden opportunity. Do they seize the moment tonight? And secondary question, impulse buys. Impulse buys that you made and whether you regret them. Because if they lose tonight, I'm going to feel like a total idiot. Got all excited, hopped up, bought the
Trust me.
seats, lower bowl, pumped
Yeah.
up, and then they lose, and it's going to be as deflating as maddening of a game. That's what happens when you play big games. There's a lot at stake.
Well, they have the opportunity to create a 3-point spread between themselves and the Washington Capitals. They have an opportunity to create a point advantage over themselves and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, oh, by the way, Thursday night?
Yep, in Pittsburgh.
They're in Pittsburgh.
So you gave yourself a buffer. It's going to be tough to beat them, but you gave yourself a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Montreal games looming at the end of the season where, come on, if you're a good hockey team, if you're even close to a good hockey team, you control your own destiny, you win your way in, you have, we think 3-2 in the next 5?
Yeah.
This is the biggest of them then, right?
It is.
This is the home game. This is a winnable game. It's a team in the bubble race. It's a team you better beat. You should beat.
And when you're looking at the Washington Capitals, they're a team that has lost 6 straight.
Reeling.
And we kind of felt like we've been there. We have been there in the past month with the Red Wings, where nothing seems to go right. You can't seem to get out of your own way. I do think, because the Red Wings have found a way to win in the past 4 games. 3 of the last 4? And it feels like they've been able to gain a little bit of their mojo back. Not enough to make a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but to play the Washington Capitals, I am with you. I do think they win tonight, and we get to push on with the playoff push that is this season for the Red Wings. Now, the impulse buy, mine would probably be tickets as well, because leading up to the Lions' first playoff game against the Rams, my wife was like, hey, should we go? Should we not go? And as soon as I could see the wheels turning, like she was, you get a chance to read your partner a little bit, and I could see that she really wanted to go. And she was just waiting for me to say, yeah, get some tickets. And so I followed suit. Yeah, get some tickets. And it paid off. Obviously, I loved no regrets at all. Part of it was just the opportunity to go on a date with my wife. We went down. We had some Mexican food at Bakersfield. We went over to the Ford Field and loved every minute of the game. We were there early, and we even had a guest appearance. Stoney came down to say hello.
Of course he did.
Because he was lingering before and after.
Of course he was.
But we got a chance to watch. It was the Dallas and Green Bay game. We watched that in Ford Field.
See, that's awesome.
So it totally paid off. And I'm usually, because I get a chance to go to a lot of sporting events, I've never been one to be like, oh, yeah, I kind of feel like I got to be there. This is one where I really, really wanted to be there.
Well, we were there Friday night, and they lost, and it felt like a missed opportunity.
If they lose, it's you. You are the jinx.
No, I have a chance
You are the jinx.
to get the win I wanted last Friday tonight at Little Caesars Arena.
Are the flags going to be in the car?
They're in the car. They're not on the car.
I mean, if it was the Costa Lock, they'd be on the car.
You think they should be on the car driving in?
You said Costa Lock.
I'm getting nods from behind the glass.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very bandwagon-ish too, by the way, if you put them on in the garage after.
Yeah. I'm kind of in. Yes, I'm with the Costa Lock, but
Now, John, in all fairness to Jim there, you were trying to blame him. They lost on Friday.
Yeah.
If they were to lose tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jim, have you been to another Red Wing game this calendar year?
Yeah, I went to the Blues game where they jumped on them right away and pummeled them.
And that was 2024.
Yeah, this calendar year.
Okay, so they've won it with you present.
Yeah.
John, they haven't won with you present.
Nope.
They didn't win with me present. In fact, I went to the Islander game. That started all this, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the start of the losing skid.
So there's no jinx on the show, though. No Jim correlated jinx.
I don't think so. And
it only goes. It's recency bias. Clearly, I mean, if you are there and they can't finish this, I will blame you.
So the flags. I've tried.
Trust me. There's no reasoning in
Will.
jinxes.
Of course he'll blame me. The flags.
You going to show up tomorrow morning?
Yes. My rule with the flags was I wanted to display them confidently. What did you ask?
You're going to show up tomorrow morning.
I will be here tomorrow on the show. I wanted to
another Costa Lock. Yes.
I want to display them when I'm confident. But yeah, if I think they're winning, I'm confident. So what the hell? We'll put the flags on for the way down. Great stat from Will Birchfield, 97ontheticket.com. In the 9 games before Simon Edvinson was called up, they were giving up nearly 5 goals a game. Since his arrival, 2.8 goals per game. That blue line boost.
Yeah.
And now Larkin's back, and Kane's scoring, and Raymond's humming, and Sider's coming off a big day. They're favored. They're at home. They're beating the Capitals tonight. Your impulse buys, your confidence level. We'll get to the ticket text, your reaction next, 97.1.
Hey, looking for ways to level up your fitness? Well, you can join the YMCA with no contract and no joiner fees, and for just $3 a day. I'm loving everything the YMCA has to offer, including access to indoor pools, Les Mills group fitness, hundreds of machines, discounts on personal training, and free child watch while you work out. And if you join today, you get 50% off your first month. Membership covers nationwide access to thousands of locations, with 7 in Metro Detroit. Learn more at ymcadetroit.org and find what moves you. Find your why today.
Tonight, the Red Wings are winning a hockey game against the Washington Capitals. It has been decreed. It is a Costa lock.
Flags are flying. Are you going to put them up as soon as we leave the studio?
That's right. I will walk out. The flags
Oh,
are
man.
on the car. They're winning the game.
4-2.
And I will be there to celebrate with all of you. Impulse buys, baby.
Wow. And you're going to follow that up with being here. Guarantee that you're here tomorrow morning.
Why do you ask that? Like, do you think
Oh,
I'd
because
like...
you have a track record.
I was legitimately sick one time since we started the show.
All right.
So
well,
have
just,
you.
Watch what you eat tonight then. You know, just make sure you don't get any food poisoning.
Oh, boy, here it is. Yeah.
Oh, don't drink too much.
We talked about it. We were like, do we do mezzanine? Do we do lower bowl? I said, we'll do lower bowl. We'll eat at home. No drinks at the game. We're just here to take in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
See how that goes. Well, you're there. It's easy. Yeah, it's going to drink. They scored in the first period. They're up 2-0.
Yeah.
Ticket texters. Why are you buying tickets, Jim? Why don't you abuse your press credentials like Stoney and Gator do?
Well, because you wanted to take your wife with you.
Yeah, and you want to be a fan.
Yeah.
You can't cheer in the press box. Oh, some people. I'm not going to get into that. You're not supposed to cheer in the press box. If you go to the game as a fan, as a paying customer, you can have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
You can have a good time. You can celebrate. You can cheer.
Could be you.
You can be yourself.
Yep.
Ticket texter says, if the Wings lose tonight, we're getting the pitchforks out and we're hanging outside Costa's house.
Yeah, you already proclaimed we were done with that.
They're winning this
regarding
game.
the snow. People are already mad about you for that.
The Wings emailed yesterday about playoff tickets. They only hit your card for the first two games once they clinch. I thought about it for 30 seconds. I'm in. How awesome would it be for LCA at a playoff game? Coach Paul on the ticket text.
Well done, Coach Paul. Well done. It's going to be unbelievable. Never had a playoff game.
Not for the Red Wings.
Right. That's what I mean.
You loosely count what the Pistons did getting swept by the Bucks.
Yeah.
Blake's bionic knee. Yeah. This would be another level. This arena was built for hockey. The Pistons play there. This was built for hockey. You can tell when you watch both games at Little Caesars Arena. This was built for hockey. And we have not had playoff hockey. And this is as close to it as we're going to get tonight against the Capitals. Impulse buys on the ticket text. Impulse bought a ticket to MSU Ohio State in 2021. Almost $200. Made a 5-hour trip by myself. MSU was down 49-0 at halftime.
That was a tough first half.
In Detroit. I remember that.
First half, yeah.
Brutal. My wife and I took our 8-month-old son to his first game Sunday. He did amazing. We got to see all the goals and the fights in the first period and saw the win.
Well done. It's good parenting.
Tide's turning. Tonight's the night. Get it done.
It's got to be. I mean, they only got 5 games left. They've got their next 2 are against direct competitors for that final spot.
This one, Pittsburgh. Then it's at Toronto, and then back-to-back against the Montreal Canadiens. 5 games, 51% chance to get in the playoffs today. Pittsburgh did not win last night. They did pick up a point, but did not win. It's all setting up for Detroit. Cleared for takeoff. Heather, did you have an impulse buy? Anything that you'd done spur of the moment, whether you regret it or not? I guess yesterday was an impulse day.
Impulse was an impulse day yesterday. Sure, I'm sure I've had a lot of impulse shopping buys, but nothing that I could just...
shoes or...
No, I mean nothing that
jumps out at you.
Yeah,
major.
no.
Yeah, okay.
Bridezilla.
Come on.
I have a great one. I mean, how lucky did I get? Obviously, 96 when Yzerman scored a double T go.
You were there?
Me and my friend from college scalped tickets, and we did not have the tickets in hand until about 4:30 day of. We decided roughly about 3 o'clock, let's do this. And back then, the internet was barely around as is. There was no StubHub or secondary market. It was all ticket brokers. We had no idea how the process worked. So, we find this place in the paper. We call it up.
In the paper. This is
And then
great.
we're going to this business. It was in Southfield. It wasn't that far from here, I remember, from Waterford. And we go in there, give the guy, we each paid $125 per ticket, standing room only.
Get in the building.
But we got in the building and we saw that. It was worth every single cent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, I think for sports fans, it a lot of them would probably come down to that last second. Somebody says, "Hey, you want to go?" and you just jump at the opportunity to buy tickets.
Well, that happened a lot growing up, right? Friends, parents gets tickets or a relative gets tickets. Hey, you want to go to the game tonight? Yeah, let's go to the game tonight.
Yeah, but sometimes they're given to you. That's not obviously not an impulse buy.
Right.
It's that buddy of yours that calls you up.
What are you doing tonight?
An hour before kickoff and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Want to go to the game?"
Last minute tickets.
Boom. Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Gator is coming to the studio.
I am.
Mildly important hockey game tonight.
Yeah, just a little bit. I may have written on my show sheet in all capitals, massive game tonight. Oh. That's right. That's how I feel about this. Massive.
And they win, right?
Yeah, they have to win. But I did hear the Costa lock. Put it on them, man.
Tonight's the night.
You did
it all comes together. I didn't guarantee they'd win on Friday night. I was in attendance. This is a different level of confidence. Gator, the city needs this.
We all need this.
Yes.
I need this.
Especially as the Tigers start to kind of
get
slow
in or
down.
get out. Let's go.
Right. Let's go. Come on. LFG. Win the game. It's that simple.
Now or never.
It'd be nice if Alex DeBrincat shows up.
Yeah, I'll see if he's in attendance.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think it's time for him to enter the fray again.
The fray, yeah. It'd be nice.
It's like having Maverick, not engaging in the dogfight in the aircraft.
Just along
and
the
then,
ride.
and then
Until it
finally
has to.
figures out, he's like, I'm back, and comes back in.
That's a great analogy.
Yep. So we need you back in here. Come on, Mav. We need you. That's what DeBrincat's going to be.
Yeah.
The rest of the way.
Just hope we're not Goose.
Why do you do that?
Is that where they got the phrase "goose is cooked"?
Could be. No, Goose is yummy.
Is it?
It is. It's
You've
very
had
good.
goose.
Oh, yes. Shot, killed, and fixed myself.
Hey, I'll eat goose more than crow tomorrow. I prefer goose.
Goose is. You would be surprised.
Doug, I think they're winning tonight.
Doug wouldn't eat it. It's a red meat.
No, I wouldn't. But I heard, and I hope you're right. I hope you're right, my friend.
What are you guys going to do today?
We will talk about this game tonight as, safe to say, biggest game in the history of LCA for the Red Wings.
Commercial free, just so you guys can get it all in.
What's that? The show?
The show, yeah. Commercial free, right?
I'd do it.
It's
I'd do it.
short.
I think Jimmy might have an issue with commercial free.
Might be some sponsors that don't like that, but
you got a short show, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a short show. Tigers, but we'll start with Eclipse observations.
Oh, Gator, you don't like the Eclipse, right?
I have no problem with the Eclipse.
Right. He hates the Eclipse and kids.
I heard he also thought the Earth was flat.
No
there was a
problem
bunch
with
of
kids. Oh, I definitely didn't say
the
don't,
moon
don't,
landing was fake. All
don't
kinds.
start that horrible rumor.
No, I
It's
heard
hard
them
when
giving
the
you a
Earth
hard
is
time
flat.
Those
yesterday.
people.
Yeah.
All right, Eclipse Talk Sports, everything next. Carson Anderson, 97.1.
Do we have an official countdown to the next eclipse? How many days?
It's like 20 years and counting, right?
All right, so here's the deal. Yesterday, we aren't going to dwell on it, but we just wanted to bring up our observations. It was a big story. A lot of people ventured outside. This wasn't the most enthusiastic show about the eclipse, but we didn't. I didn't poo-poo it. Gator wasn't exactly thrilled by it, but I had some stuff to do yesterday. I said, I'm going to do it outside. I'll head outside and experience this thing. Let the eclipse wash over me. Have my glasses ready to go. Jumped out there and noticed, I put the glasses on, looked up and saw that the sun was getting that crescent shape. And I thought, this is kind of cool. And I had one observation, okay?
Is it waxing or waning?
I don't know. But I had one observation, and I wondered what others maybe kind of caught them off guard. Now, I want to point this out. I only looked through the glasses, so this wasn't a result of me staring at the sun. But I was looking around. When it got darkest, like right at the peak of as close to totality as we got, which wasn't full totality, but when it got its darkest, my observation was I looked around and I thought, what's wrong with my vision? Everything looked like it was, I felt like it didn't feel like it was darker per se, but it felt like something was wrong with my vision.
No, I know. I think I might have the answer. This is just an educated guess for me, and it could be a badly educated guess.
Yeah.
But because it's the moon that's going in front of the sun and it blocking out the sunlight. So now we're left with moonlight. And moonlight it's that like white light as opposed to, the sunlight, which is more of a natural type look. It's like it's like if I go in my house and the new lighting I have in my living room, I have two sets of lights. I have lights that come from pendant lights that are like soft white.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the canned lights, which are called like daylight lights, which are much more white in nature. That felt like what it was. Like I'm outside and I'm like, this is the moonlight, man. And when I came back inside and looked in the front of my house and the light that was coming on the shade, it was almost like I had this LED light on my front window because it's just how it felt.
Yeah, it was really a weird feel outside. And I was just looking around and I'm like, I wouldn't call this dark, but there's something wrong, man. I'm not seeing as sharp. Kang, you went outside, you had the glasses, you had the girls. What was your observation?
Yeah, it was, I thought, so we had the glasses, of course, and I thought it was cool and underwhelming at the same time.
Yep.
The cool part is when you put on the glasses, you look up and you see the eclipse happening. That's cool. You see the moon covering the sun, and we had, 99%? So you're trying to see how much of a sliver will you see of the sun still, because you'll see a piece of the sun. And then when you look away and you take off your glasses, I didn't know how dark it was going to be. I expected it to be darker than it was.
I did too, yeah.
And it wasn't, because we weren't in the path of totality. So I bet you everyone, sorry, Gator, that's what they call it.
I know, it's just hilarious.
Yeah. So I bet you everyone that made it to Ohio or wherever you were supposed to be, that was really cool. And from what I saw online, that looked like it was an experience.
So it was reported that we were getting 99% blockage. Is that correct?
Close to it, I think, yeah. I thought that's what I had seen.
Man, that's a bright light, that sun, because even then it was still pretty bright.
That's what I'm saying.
It was incredible.
It was more like 97.1%.
There you go.
Okay.
But
80-something.
If you had any maybe surprises, text them over at 248-539-9797. Like what you weren't necessarily expecting. I was like spending a lot of time trying to pay attention to the birds and all that thing.
They were loud.
Yeah, I didn't. Were they loud where you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was noticeable, at least in my backyard. I noticed it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did Lois act any different, Gator?
Not really. Although, I mean, she kind of, like, I had the back door open to go outside in the kitchen, and she just kind of like stood halfway in, halfway out, didn't make a commitment as it's getting darker and darker and darker. And I'm like, I wanted to go outside. So I'm like, all right, I'm going. And she's like, all right, fine. So she runs out. And she was doing whatever she does, looking for squirrels and chipmunks and stuff. But it was nothing terribly out of the ordinary. No. And when I got out there, I took a picture with my phone. I just kind of held the phone up in the general direction, and I got lucky. I got a picture, and it was quick. I didn't keep the phone up there for like 10 seconds. So it's going to burn out my camera lens or anything.
My wife, and I guess a lot of school teachers did this, and it was going around as a good way to teach your students. But so I'm not giving her. I said, "Did you come up with this idea?" And she goes, "No, it's out there." The way teachers got kids to like understand how that worked, they took Oreo cookies and they'd break off one part, and they'd like line them all up and slowly show how if you took one of the chocolate cookies and sequentially had the chocolate move over the cream, that you could sort of simulate what the Eclipse would look like and how it works. And of course, kids just see the cookies and get all super excited.
And that keeps them from staring at it?
It keeps them from staring at it. Well, the thing is,
at the cookie, like, when am I getting the cookie?
The Eclipse, yeah, and they got cookies yesterday. The Eclipse was after school, and from what I understand, a lot of schools handed out glasses so that the kids didn't stare up at it. But it was a cool deal. I'm not anti-Eclipse by any stretch of the imagination. But I said I was a moderate. I was an Eclipse moderate scale 1 to 10. What'd you say? You were a 2?
Yeah.
I was a 4. I would describe the experience as closer to a 6.5 or a 7 when I got out there.
I was a 6.
All right. Okay.
Did you kind of lost in this whole thing because everyone's debating, is it cool, is it not, is it dumb, is it overblown, whatever? I was talking to you this morning, Doug, that lost in this is the fact that we have people here on Earth that are able to figure out when this is going to happen, the exact moments, blows my mind.
It's unbelievable.
The scientists that work on these for decades or whatever and can figure it out from how many miles away from another whatever. That's incredible.
And
if you think about it.
They're predicting the next one like down to the minute.
Yeah, like
20 years from now.
Guys, it's just science and math.
I don't know what I'm doing the rest of the day. And these guys are telling me when I need the glasses again.
20 years, 2 months, 14 days, 6 hours, 36 minutes, and 42, 43, 44 seconds.
These guys.
I use Roget's theorem.
Yeah. Hey, can you give me the over-under on tonight's Red Wing Capital game while you're at it?
Yeah.
Anyway, hell of a thing we got.
I used Belichick's razor, and I found out that.
All right, so let's get to some sports stuff. We got the Tigers, where they're at. We've got the Red Wings, what they have on top. I think we're going to start with the Red Wings, and we will get to that today at 10:20. Plus your Eclipse observations. Did anything catch you off guard? We'll take your ticket text at 248-539-9797. We did just try and get a feel for the pulse of the Red Wing fan with a Twitter question. We'll get to that coming up. But if you want to go on Twitter, at DougGator971, and answer it, we'll read some of the answers on the air. Here on Carson Anderson on 97.1, The Ticket.
Well, if you want that green, lush yard that everyone is just envious of what you've got going, call the great folks at Natural Way Lawn and Tree Service. Where you get green, you stay green with Natural Way. 888-GET-GREEN's the phone number, and for a limited time, you purchase a full lawn program. You'll get free grub control, but you have to mention myself, Scott Anderson, the Gator, by name. You don't want to wait. Not at all. That first application is the most important for crabgrass control, because by the time you see crabgrass, frankly, it's too late to fix it. It's going to be just a nightmare. It's so much easier to prevent a problem than it is to fix one, so schedule early. Call them right now at 888-GET-GREEN. Natural Way uses fewer chemicals. They use environmentally sound practices. Each lawn is assigned its own specialist. They've got certified applicators and arborists that'll custom tailor solutions specifically for your yard and home. They're locally owned, have been that way for over 30 years. It's a company I've trusted for nearly a dozen years to come out to my lawn. And they offer the 100% satisfaction guarantee. So there is that. Give them a call today. Natural Way Lawn and Tree Service, 888-GET-GREEN, or go to naturalwaylawn.com.
Doug Hart, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket, open lines, 248-539-9797. Guys, if you went to the path of totality, it was amazing, not underwhelming. Somebody else said that on Twitch, and I believe it. Cyclonic Vortex on Twitch says, trust me, Doug and Scott, if you were able to see it in its totality, it would have been at least a 9 out of 10. I hear you. I don't doubt that for 1 second, that it was probably more awe-inspiring when you were right in the middle of it. Is Gator trolling us? He does know that the moon doesn't emit light, correct? It only reflects light from the sun. The moon doesn't actually glow its own light.
Just said it looked like moonlight. That's all. Yeah. It was a different color light, if that makes any sense. That's all I'm saying.
I work at a dealership, writes this texter, and when it got to the darkest moment, all the cars on the road automatic headlights came on. Unnamed texter, my biggest Eclipse surprise as a mailman, seeing all the families and individuals outside that I haven't ever seen before in these neighborhoods. That's kind of funny. So, mail guy, you got to meet a lot of the people you deliver to, huh?
I saw a lot of people out in my neighborhood.
Yep, I did too.
Sitting out there. I brought the lawn chairs out to the driveway.
Did you?
Bring some beer out?
No, we had some chocolate cookies, though.
Scott writes in, Gator, I want your opinion on people cheering and crying during the eclipse. Your thoughts?
Not sure why you would cheer, and I really have no idea why you'd cry. That I have no idea. I mean, that's just, sun rises and sets every day. It's okay. Sometimes things will block its way. I mean, I wouldn't cry about it, but maybe there's something
it's emotional,
deep-seated in there that jars something loose there, Tiger, and the person just lets the floodgates go. I don't know why.
Stan in a truck says, hey, guys, my observation from yesterday was a drop in the temperature. I work outside. It dropped from 72 to 60, then back to 72 a half hour later. Crazy.
I think I saw something on Twitter. Somebody said that the actual temperature had dropped. It was something like 4 degrees. So he said 12 degrees. I don't know if it was that severe, but it was. You could definitely feel a little colder.
Unnamed texter, I live in Indy. It was awesome, insanely awesome. I am 53. Will never see anything more awe-inspiring.
Is it awe-inspiring?
So here's something that I don't think is true. I think it goes back to my vision. But like I said, I moved outside. But at one point I saw my own shadow, and I'm like, this looks sharper. Like my shadow, and I'm like,
you have 4 more weeks of winter.
Am I wrong here? Is the outline of my shadow sharper, or am I just like now making this up? Because I'm looking for stuff.
It was a different color light.
It was a weird deal. But
it was like the light you see from, like if you're at you would know this, if you're at a high school game, right? And then all of a sudden the big lights come on.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of light.
And you hear the hum.
Right. Well, without the hum, but a lot of birds. But you see that the image is sharper on the shadows are sharper on the ground because of the artificial light. It kind of looked, that's the way I felt about it yesterday. This is like artificial light.
Yep. Anyway, if you want to keep sending over your surprise eclipse observations, 248-539-9797.
Was it better this time, or was it better 7 years ago?
It was better this time. You?
I don't know. I don't know if I notice much of a difference.
Okay.
It was fine.
Let's get to the Red Wings.
Like the thumb.
Red Wings coming up tonight. Huge game against Washington. And for people who don't know the standings, just laying it out. Detroit holding on to the final wild card spot with 84 points and 5 games to go. Pittsburgh last night lost in overtime, so they got a point, which pulled them even with the Red Wings in points, 84 points, but they have 4 games to go. So Detroit has the upper hand there. Detroit and Pittsburgh, both 84 points, but Detroit with more games left to be played. 1 point behind the Red Wings, the Washington Capitals. 83 points, 5 games to go for the Caps. That's the opponent tonight at LCA. Philly sits there with 83 points and 4 games to go. They're on life support. We saw this coming. A couple weeks ago, we brought up this Washington 2-game set that they had and everything in between, and not a huge surprise that here we sit on April 9th, 2024, playing the biggest Red Wing hockey game in the history of Little Caesars Arena. It's tonight. And it comes on the date, April 9th, that the Red Wings played their last game at the Joe Louis Arena. 7 years later. So, biggest game in the history of LCA is tonight. Birchie Kid did a story on our website that the Wings are entering the most important week of hockey in 8 years. Gator, how you feeling about this team right now, this matchup tonight, and this playoff push?
Ready, set, puke.
Which is a term we use for playoff hockey.
It's the way I'm approaching it. It is playoff hockey. You've got 5 games left in the season. All these teams are within just a couple points of each other. I mean, it is absolutely ready, set, puke right now. I don't feel comfortable. I think the Red Wings have a great chance. And the fact that they control their own destiny is huge. But it feels like all that good feeling goes away if they don't win tonight. They have to win tonight. And I know they've played better lately. Was it 3 out of the last 4 games they've won? Their defense has gotten better significantly, but it still isn't where I think you want it to be. It's the offense that has to show up. If they show up like they did against Buffalo in the first period of the game, if they do that tonight, I think we're all going to feel pretty good about this team.
We built this hockey facility here in Detroit fully equipped for the outdoor hockey game watching experience. And we haven't got to utilize it yet. I don't think we're getting that downtown tonight. There's not going to be people down there without tickets gathering around the arena, is my guess. Maybe when they get to the playoffs, that kind of thing might happen. Maybe they have to advance in the playoffs, provided all this that they make the playoffs. But, I mean, what kind of playoff treatment do you think the fans are giving it tonight? Is there playoff treatment? Is this a superstition type of game?
I think this game gets more of, yes, I think more of that. I think people are picking their jersey out, their clothes, whatever they're going to wear. I think people will show up earlier and head downtown earlier, go to a bar, and then walk to the game. I think that's going to happen. I don't think this is one of those where, you get a call from your buddy.
Tyler Chesky?
Yeah, well, I don't think this is one of the guys are talking about in the morning show. I don't think this is one of those things where an hour before game time starts, you get a call. Hey, man, I just got an extra ticket. You want to go to the game? I don't think it's one of those. I think this is well planned out. This is, hey, what time are we going? We're leaving at 5, right? We're gonna get down there, have a couple beers, and then go in, right? I think that's what it's going to be like, and it is absolutely gorgeous today. So this is maybe there will be a gathering of people outside ahead of time, and if you're at LCA, do you take advantage of that?
I mean, look, this is the Tyler Chesky reference goes back to early infancy Carson Anderson days. Red Wings, I mean, deep in a playoff run, and we were talking about people's plans for the game. It was probably one of those classic, a bar, home alone, you're trying to get a ticket, whatever, and some guy called, I ain't gonna lie, sounded high as a kite, and said, we said, so what are you doing for the game? He said, going to Tyler Chesky's basement. And it became sort of a benchmark for how big of a game was, is Tyler Chesky throwing a...
And how big of a basement is it?
Yeah, how awesome. We figured it must be the best basement ever. But you knew it was a big game if Tyler Chesky was having people over. This is a Tyler Chesky game.
It feels like
he should have people in his basement tonight.
Yeah.
And look, we've been waiting for this to mean something. It's kind of a strange feeling, and we've talked about a lot how the course of the season they felt like they were so in the playoffs, and now they're battling. So there's this undercurrent of disappointment that is probably undeserved. We probably should be just super stoked and enthused about the progress that they continue to make and the fact that this team is in a great spot to make the playoffs. And if you look at the arc over the last few years, I mean, what was it, 70-something points to 80 points to now they're at 84 points. And they're starting to mix in more young players more and more. And maybe one in particular has really made a difference. We will get to that coming up today at 10:32. Plus your phone calls and feedback. Red Wing fans, how are you feeling? Do you think they get this done? That was our question on Twitter. How you feeling about this team? Are they going to get it done? A bunch of you have answered. We will read some of your tweets coming up and get into it a little bit here. Wings, Capitals tonight, biggest game in LCA history. Hey, spring is here, and so are the Silverados and Equinoxes at your #1 volume Chevy dealer in Michigan, Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights. That means Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights has a huge inventory of Silverados and Equinoxes that are ready for you to test drive and take home today. Plus, it's truck season. So now is that time to get that Silverado you've been dreaming of. Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights, where they guarantee the lowest price or it's free. 17.5 in Van Dyke in Sterling Heights. Call 87-SAY-SARAH or go to saysarah.com. Together, let's drive. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. You can tweet us at DougAndGator971. Hey, you can watch the show on YouTube.com. Go to YouTube and search up 971 The Ticket. Bam, there we are. You can also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv. Again, same thing, search bar 971 The Ticket. And there we are. Plus, you people participate in the chats on both sites. And we do appreciate all the different ways you can interact with us here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. Okay, so we got this massive Red Wing game tonight. And the Birch Kid did a story on our website about how much impact that the Red Wings have actually gotten from Steve Yzerman's young blue liners. First, Mo Sider had such a huge game last Sunday against Buffalo. He blocked 10 shots. Mo Sider blocked 10 shots in one game.
Yeah, and apparently had ice bags to prove it.
Yes. He also was on the ice for 27 minutes and 7 seconds. It was like 5 minutes clear of anybody else. He is the cornerstone, and he is a guy that they're leaning on heavily at this point. But there's also Simon Edmondson. The Red Wings, before they called up Simon Edmondson, had gone 1-8. This again, according to the Birchie Kid story. Had gone 1-8 and allowed 4.8 goals per game in the 9 games prior to Edmondson's call-up. So the 9 games since he's been called up, they're 4-3-2 while allowing 2.8 goals per game. Now, to be clear, that coincided with the return of Larkin. So it wasn't just Edmondson. But those are 2 young guys that are making a difference. And, I mean, this is one of those deals where if they miss, there might be some questioning as to why they didn't call Edmondson up earlier. But they're becoming critical components of this team, as was the plan. And now we're seeing it in a massive hockey game tonight. These 2 are going to be relied on again. Young blue liners. You were looking for more from DeBrincat, though.
Yeah, because he just hasn't been on the score sheet. I mean, he's got, I think it's 7 points in the last 17 games. This is a guy who's on a point-a-game pace for nearly, I don't know, the first 3 quarters of the season, and then he's gone completely cold here. So they need him to step up, man. He's got to get back at it. And I know that Newsy was talking about it yesterday after a practice, and he's going to be counted on. I mean, this is why you signed a guy for nearly $8 million a year, a former 40-goal scorer just a couple of years ago, got off to a great start, great chemistry with Larkin. They go out and they sign Patrick Kane. He comes here, his old buddy, and, you know, things take a while, but Patrick Kane's hit the ground running. He's fine. But DeBrincat isn't. Initially, there were some great moments between the 2 where they would set each other up, and it was awesome. But I don't know what's happened over the last 20 games, but DeBrincat is not the same player that he was. He can get back to doing it, but if he does get back, I'll guarantee this team's a playoff team. And not only that, if he gets back to what he was and is a point-a-game guy, this team can disrupt things in the playoffs. This can be one of those great stories of, look what happened in the first round.
There's a lot that could be given, yes. Here's some of the feedback we've gotten from Twitter, because we just asked people, how you feeling about this team? Are they going to get it done? Craig writes in, yes, they will get it done, I believe. Nicole sends in a screenshot of a search bar that says, how to watch my sports team without having a heart attack. Mike writes in, strangely, I feel pretty good about them. Maybe Doug was right about the turning point being that Florida game. I was curious of whether or not it would be. Alex writes in, Wings get a huge dub tonight, then keep rolling with the momentum all the way to the playoffs. Jared says 50-50. This team is tough to determine. From Merle, Detroit sports have been so bad for so long, I can't believe in any of them anymore. Steven says, yes, Washington is fraudulent with a negative goal differential. The Wings are more talented and have more depth. Mark says, really hope so. They're so inconsistent. I don't have a lot of confidence. Joey the Hack on Twitter says, tonight, yes, the last 4 games, I don't know. Mark says they need to look at these remaining games like they are playoff games. They lose 4 of them, they're done. So game 7 it's kind of feels like do or die. Gator, you want the percentages of what their playoff chances are if they win or lose?
Nope.
Okay. Then I won't give them to you.
They either get in or they don't. I don't care about percentages.
Percentages go up quite a bit if they win tonight.
And then I bet you they go down quite a bit if they lose to Pittsburgh. So,
well, all the results, yes, impact their percentages of making the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, this game is the most important game on the schedule until the next one. Because the next one is, well, it is Pittsburgh. They can win these next 2. I'm going to breathe a little easier. But they've got to win this one tonight.
Got to win this one tonight. 248-539-9797. Wings fans, how you feeling about your team? More. These are via ticket text. If the Wings lose tonight, tell Yzerman to pack his bags. Would that be categorized as an overreaction?
Yeah. Really? Really? The guy's building this thing. It's getting a little bit better every year. It's not happening as fast as we want. But it is getting better. You can't deny that. But you're done? All right.
Is this an elimination game?
Apparently for the GM in that person's eyes.
Yep.
Clean house, not good enough. Coach has to go. GM's got to go. Everyone's got to go.
So Washington still has games with Boston and Tampa. Philly's still battling to hang on. Like if Washington wins tonight, they'll be a point ahead with 4 games left. And unless they go undefeated, like Detroit has Toronto, and then 2 games with Montreal and a game with Pittsburgh. I mean, I favor Detroit with that schedule.
Well,
I know, don't get me wrong. I don't want them to lose the game tonight, but are we really? This guy can't be serious.
I don't even want to entertain that at this point. But the schedule is what the schedule is. It's these next 2 games are so massive because they're the teams that are chasing or they're in the hunt with. Take care of Washington, take care of Pittsburgh. You'd think you have a really good chance going forward. You talk with the other teams that those teams have to play, and it's not going to be easy for them. Toronto it's never an easy game on the road. Unfortunately for the Red Wings, they have 3 of the last 5 games are on the road. It's a home and home against Montreal to finish the season. Montreal's not a very good hockey team, but you get to the end of the year, teams show pride, man. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to end on a losing note. So every game is going to be hard fought. But these next 2 against Washington and Pittsburgh are particularly important.
It's funny because you say that about how nobody wants to lose and every game's hard fought. I don't know that I've seen a player. I mean, I have. It's just been a while. But David Perron would cut his chest open and let his guts pour out if he thought it would help his team win. The way he is playing the games these days, it looks to me like David Perron is playing this like it's life or death.
He seems like a max effort guy that also has a ceiling that I think everybody has seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if he can get any better, but if he's giving it his all, that's all he does.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Then you need effort like that. That's the kind of effort that should pay off if you get to the playoffs. The try hard guy that's out there.
Try hard with some talent for sure.
He's not ultra talented,
but you can tell how much it means to that guy. And I'm sure it means this as much to other guys on the team, but I feel like his outward emotion, his frustrations, everything about him on the ice, David Perron just looks like I'm happy to see one of their veteran players. And it doesn't look like he's doing it for show. This looks at very, very an intensity that has sincerity behind it.
I would agree with that. And I think there has to be a calming influence as well over all these players to not do stupid things. And they've all been guilty of it, taking a dumbass penalty towards the end of a game. Perron did one the other day. Let's not do that. Let's just play hard, play to the whistle, and let's see if they can come out on top. I think they're a better team than most of the teams they're playing here down the stretch, but they've got to have everybody pulling their weight. You know, don't want to see the catastrophic mistake, sending the puck up the boards and it gets intercepted by one of the defensemen. Don't want to see that. You also don't want to see.
We know who you're talking about.
This waning net that's just yawning at you. It's wide open. Let's go. And then you decide to get too cute and make an extra pass instead. Just shoot the damn puck in the net.
Feedback. Jason in Baltimore says, guys, Detroit native and longtime Wings fan in Baltimore area where it's all Caps fans have invited a couple of friends over to watch the important game tonight. Go Wings. Scott in Carlton says, if we don't win tonight, make the playoffs, we need to take a deep look at Stevie and Lalonde's futures with the organization. Does LCA have coconuts or just Comerica?
Good question.
So, again, if you look at the arc of the organization, if they miss the playoffs with like 89 points, something like that, it's still an unfortunate disappointment, but progress. Now, Lalonde might get heavy scrutiny here. And I get that there's impatience with Yzerman. but it would be another step forward. An unfulfilling, ungratifying, but technically a step forward. But I think there'd be some serious heat on Steve Yzerman next year to not just even make the playoffs, be well into the playoffs with a lot of his guys. Like Edmonton be up all year and see his impact and see whether Casper or Carter Mazer or who's next.
Some defenseman du jour,
248-539-9797. We'll get to your phone calls and feedback next. 97.1 The Ticket.
Well, we got spring here, and that means the red, white, and blue trucks, they are on their way to help you out because you don't want to get caught with a flooded basement or a scorching hot house this year. You can beat the weather by calling Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. Frank's the owner's got a great deal going on right now, started it a couple months ago. This spring, they're giving all customers a free tankless water heater included with the purchase of a full furnace and air conditioning package. So whether you've got a flood in your basement or a clogged drain or maybe your AC unit just won't work, call Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today, or you can schedule an appointment online at birminghamplumbingco.com. It's birminghamplumbingco.com. Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Metro Detroit boiler experts.
Here you go. From an unnamed texter, we're 5 years into this. I'm done with Yzerman. Great. Alan Card, in regards to firing Yzerman, if the Wings miss, I'd consider looking for a new coach, however. Uninspired team the last month and a half. Has been tough to watch at times. Another unnamed texter. This season becomes a disappointment if we miss the playoffs before the season started. It wouldn't be, but right now it is. Expectations shifted when we had a 9-point lead on the second wild card spot. I thought it was an 8-point lead. Now that really matters. So a team that has exceeded expectations has become a disappointment. And I mean, I guess I have a little bit more patience. Now, that doesn't mean Yzerman has a lifetime pass, okay?
Nope.
But it is a team that wasn't considered a playoff team going in. Now they're hanging on to the last wild card spot. People want it. I'm not hot. I don't get hostile until it's time to be hostile. I don't think it's time to be hostile toward Yzerman alone just yet. Now, in the back of your mind, are you considering things? Sure. But the need to really, I think, publicly be discussing this, I mean, I guess if you want to call and talk about it, sure, we'll do it. But it feels like putting poison in the air on a day where Red Wings have a big game with a lot to prove.
Let's get out there and celebrate tonight. Let's get the crowd going. Hope it's loud, raucous.
This is the kind of game we would have dreamed about having at the beginning of the year. And now we got it.
Yeah, it's here. And the next one's going to be the same way. And the one after that, same thing.
I guess, you know what it is? If the overwhelming thought, if what your number one thought right here is they better win this game or Yzerman's gone or Lalonde's gone, then we're just kind of wired differently. I'm stoked about what we get tonight. It's a pretty damn important game. And if they swing and wildly fail at this, not just tonight, but these remaining games and look terrible and finish well out of the playoffs and maybe they don't scratch out another point the rest of the way, I'll be poised to have that conversation. But 248-539-9797. Alex, you're next on 97 on the ticket. Hi, Alex.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Okay.
Good. I was just calling kind of to talk about just kind of overall the poor run management of the Detroit sports lately. Like the last 10 years has been kind of a joke. The Lions last year, thank God that they did have the season they did, because if not for them, our entire sports base would be a joke. I saw one stat. It was like you take the last 10 years between the four major sports, we have the worst winning percentage by far of any 10-year run by any major sports. And I don't think the Bally Sports we're having the games on that helps get viewership at all, because there's just a lot of the games, the teams just show no fight, and we've had high draft picks, so there's been a lot of hope around, especially the Pistons had the number one pick with Cade, but it's just, I feel the GMs that we have, except for Brad Holmes, have been actually giving an effort. Yzerman, I have a little bit more leeway with him, but still, it's been pretty long since making the playoffs, and hockey is one sport where you can have one good run. And look at the Vegas has already been to 2 Stanley Cups, and they just were formed a few years ago.
Yeah, well, it's different when you're starting off as an expansion team because you're picking off the rosters of actual NHL teams. It's not the same thing as when you're just a bad team. Yeah, and they went to the playoffs for 25 straight years. They had their run, a historic run. And when things went bad, when you have some bad contracts you got here and then the well went dry, it takes a while to build out of that. And that's what they're building up now. They're no longer they hit rock bottom several years ago. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I get people are impatient. They see other teams do things, and why can't we? Well, some teams have better luck when it comes to the draft lottery in the NHL. It feels like you get one of those top 3 spots, you're golden. If you're not, you're kind of screwed.
Alex, in the last 3-4 years, we've had completely new people. Yzerman's been a little bit longer, but completely new people start running the Lions, the Tigers, and the Pistons. With the exception of the Pistons, literally everyone's arrow has been trending up, slowly but steadily. Now, the last 10 years, we don't need to relive all that. It was horrible, and it wasn't quite 10, but we had a very dark period of time. I'm more interested in the next 10 years, and I'm moderately encouraged about what moderately encouraged by both the Red Wings and, believe it or not, the Tigers. Very fired up about the Lions. Pistons are a whole nother story, but they're not going to work. But let's say this team gets to 90 points. They will have gone from 74 to 80 to 90, and they're starting to inject youth. The Tigers right now, I mean, they've been over 500 now for the entire season, which they hadn't been. They weren't all of last season, and with the exception of opening day, all of the season before. So it's a better start than they've had. And if they can get to 500, again, that's a step in the right direction. It's not what we want, right? We all want it all, and we want it now. But I think it's clear that the arrows are pointing up. Maybe not straight up, and we're going to be winning championships in the next 30 minutes, but aren't the arrows pointing up?
Oh, I agree that they're pointing up for the Lions. Red Wings are also as well. Tigers, I can't say too much. I haven't watched, I will say, a whole lot.
Okay.
But Pistons, they need a whole lot of help.
Sure. I think you're right about that. I mean, the Tigers, it's so early. You know, I remember we made the comment on the opening day show. They're 5-1. They're at some point during the season, they were likely to win 5 out of 6. But when you do it right out of the gate, it hits harder. Like you get a little bit more fired up when your team starts 5-0, and because you're wondering, we haven't seen anything go wrong yet. And obviously, we'll get into the Tigers as the show goes on. But you know, the fast start. It's funny because you overachieve. Like the Red Wings went through that incredible stretch where they were looking, where guys on national networks were saying nobody wants a part of this team in the postseason. Nobody wants a part of the Red Wings.
Kiss of death.
Yeah, and they
immediately after
they came back.
Losing streak.
They came back to earth. But the point is, this was a team that wasn't even expected to be in the playoffs. Now and again, if your overwhelming thought today, and we're getting Eiserman and Lalone text this morning, and I'm like, yeah, we can have that conversation, but today's like a fun day.
Yeah, I don't think people are. They're looking at. They're not approaching this the way I would like them to approach it. There's a bigger picture approach, a broader scale. If you look at it on this season, okay, because you're right. During the course of the season, you'll have games where you win 6 out of 7, and you'll have stretches where you lose 6 out of 7. It just happens, and we just happen to see it recently, and it hurts because it came at a time when this team was pretty much free and clear in this playoff push, and then they go and lose 7 in a row, allow everybody else to catch up, and now we're stuck in this race now. But season's not done. They got 5 games left, and by the way, they're playing better hockey lately.
And they are the team right now that holds hand over everybody else. They're in the best spot of everybody else.
They control their destiny.
Take care of business.
And it starts tonight against Washington.
With a huge game. Nick in Farmington Hills says the Wings must win tonight and they have to make the playoffs. If not, then Lalone needs to be fired. And Eiserman is on the hot seat. No legend is bigger than the iconic franchise like the Wings. What the great Herb Brooks said, if Team USA said the name on the front is more important than the name on the back, I think some of Wings fans have forgotten this. 5 years is long enough.
It's not. I would totally disagree with it. It's long enough. Let's say that the team starts off where they are right now, battling for a playoff spot, and you say 5, and then they don't do it in the next 5 years. Yeah, I would say 2 or 3 years is long enough if they don't do that. This team started. Think about where they started. Like one of the worst teams in NHL history is a season that they had like 6-7 years ago, whatever it was,
where they clearly deserved the top pick.
They were so god awful then. Yeah, they clearly deserved the top pick, and they didn't get it. And did that hurt? It stung. Yeah. And each year that has gone on has hurt a little bit more. The previous regime left some bad contracts out there. They were a little, hands tied with what they could do, and they're trying to build it back up. Think about how many players we're going to see in the next couple of years, the younger, talented players that we haven't seen yet. Nate Danielsons of the world.
Yep.
Marco Kaspers of the world. The Swedish defenseman that they have.
Carter Mazer.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that we're going to see over the next 2 years that really are going to define Steve Eiserman's legacy as a general manager with the Red Wings. Because it's tied to the players that he's bringing in as draft picks. Yes, he's also got that part where he's bringing in the free agents. And, he's brought adults into the room. He's brought better players, veteran players, but they don't have the high ceiling. let's see what the rest of this season holds for this team. I hope it's playoffs. I think it still is a real chance to make this playoffs. I said before the season that was where I thought they were, and here they are. 5 games to go. They're right there.
Yeah, but because you guys don't think 5 years is long enough, everyone's timeline is different, though.
Yeah.
And there's clearly fans out there that do think 5 years is long enough.
Let me. I think you mischaracterize it. 5 years is a long time. Okay, they were bottomed out. I don't think it's given where they were. I don't think it's fire the GM bad. But I feel like we're having this conversation before he's failed, before he's effed it up. They've gone from 74 to 80 points to now they're at 84. They could get to 90. I get we want it to happen fast, but is this not progressing in a good direction? Aren't there some younger players being injected into the lineup and making a difference? But the first 2 years, okay, got it, didn't work. But is this starting to come together? And I guess I'm surprised that on this day.
Well, I think that should tell you the confidence level of fans. The negative feedback you guys are getting, doesn't that tell you they're not feeling super confident about tonight's game and the rest of the season?
Well, yeah, without saying it, yes. Yes. And we've asked them how they felt, and what they're feeling is fire the GM and fire the coach. It's a huge effing game tonight, which they could win. They haven't lost it yet. 248-539-9797, 97.1 the ticket.
Brought to you by Cars for Kids. Every Wings game is big down the stretch, and tonight is no exception. The Capitals are a point behind them in the race, and they're in town tonight to face Detroit. Head coach Newsy Lalone spoke on his team's mindset during a very tense home stretch. Coach is keeping his lineups the same as they were on Sunday with Alex Lyon in the crease again. We'll have Ken Cowles play-by-play on the ticket right here with a 7 o'clock game, a 6:45 pregame. Some matinee baseball today as well. The Tigers could really use a pick-me-up. They finish up their short series in Pittsburgh with Casey Mize towing the rubber at PNC Park. Detroit hoping to end their 3-game slide that took them from first to third in the AL Central. Game time is set for 12:35 from the Steel City. About 24 local draft prospects showcasing themselves for the Lions today in Allen Park. Guys like Mikey Sanderstil and Michael Barrett from the Wolverines, MSU's Trey Mosley. Some Eastern Eagles and some from the area like Ovi Ogufo, a Farmington Hills graduate who went to LSU. These visits do not count against their 30-visit limit before the draft, which is now just a couple of weeks away. And it's on to Philly for the Pistons. The first of 4 games left on their campaign. The call is going to be over on WWJ tonight at 7 o'clock. I'll have your pregame at 6:35. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
If you want to continue the Red Wing discussion, you can at 248-539-9797. Huge game tonight. Detroit, 84 points, 5 games to go. Washington, 1 point behind them with 5 games to go, and Detroit hanging on to the final playoff spot. They're actually tied with Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh has 4 games left. Those are the 3 teams. Philly's still in it, 83 points, so only 1 point behind, but they have 4 games to go. So take advantage of this. Detroit, big game tonight, and we'll see if the team responds. It's part of you got to earn it. First of all, you have to want it, and then you have to earn it.
Yes.
And I do assume that they want it. So
go earn it.
Yep. In the meantime, national championship game last night, UConn and Purdue. UConn wins a national championship. So we can talk about what happened in the game. And there was one play in that game that was unbelievable. There was a whole bunch in that game to discuss, I guess. I mean, I'll say this. What stands out about UConn, absolutely smothering defensive team. They are incredible defensively. And they are well coached, and they're incredibly talented. By no means do I have to like them, and I don't. I do not like UConn. I do not like Danny Hurley. In fact, I'm starting to really dislike Danny Hurley. And UConn has rendered this thing, quite frankly, kind of boring the last couple of years. They won every game in this March Madness by an average of over 23 points. They have every right to do that. That doesn't mean we have to like it. And Hurley is becoming detestable. The whole we run college basketball thing. Him talking to Zach Edey during the game, I think is inappropriate for him to be talking to another team. He went out to argue with a ref, and they started talking to Edey. I don't know if you saw this from Jeff Goodman this morning. Or, I'm sorry, it was Greg Doyle, who works for the Indy Star. I've been busy with Purdue, so I don't know. But is UConn coach Dan Hurley always like this with officials? Not just complaining, but pleading and gesturing and stomping and pouting and running onto the court and looking on the verge of tears at times. Is this what he does?
Yes, I think it is what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He is irritable, annoying. You pick whatever adjective you want to describe him, but I'm not a fan of his either. It doesn't help that his last name is Hurley, because all I think about is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't stand him at Duke. But there's no question he can coach. There's no question he's gotten the most out of this team. There's no question that UConn is the best team in the country.
Yeah, yada, yada, yada.
Well, I mean, you got to give them the due. I mean, this is a
already
team
did that. We don't have to dwell on it here, Gator.
They're a dynasty. They're in the midst of a dynasty. Yeah, and they are the best program in college basketball over the last 30 years. And yes, that includes Duke and North Carolina. UConn's better.
I think it's premature to call them a dynasty, but that's a whole other topic.
They won like 6 championships in 30 years or something.
Yeah, I think to me that's not the definition of a dynasty. But I'll say this about all the things you said. All of that is true. Right now, if UConn's playing Duke, I'm rooting for Duke.
Oh man, don't make me watch that game.
Kang, if UConn's playing Duke, who are you rooting for?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I don't think I can answer that right now.
I don't feel comfortable right now.
Yeah, you know what? I don't like this hypothetical. I'm not answering
I'm going to go to my safe space.
But that's how irritating UConn has become to me too as well, Doug. Hurley, it has a lot to do with the coach. Maybe 95% of it. I don't know. And the fact that they are dominating teams, that's what they should be trying to do.
Well,
this tournament was kind of boring, right? There wasn't a lot of moments.
I know why it hurts Doug a little more. Doug bleeds Big Ten blood. And this team
I was excited. I was excited for the Big Ten to get this offense.
No,
yeah,
it's fine. There is truth
I'm
not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of you. This team clowned on the Big Ten. Yep. They clowned on Illinois, and they clowned on the Purdue Eddies because that's all Purdue had last night.
I mean, Zach Edey was amazing, but he also, my God, did he get tired? He looked completely out of gas.
He got exposed too. You understand why he is not thought of as a lottery pick. He is a big hulking guy who has some soft hands. Ball gets knocked out of his hands easily. He's slow, and I'm convinced that he's not an NBA
At times
player.
He's unstoppable, and even against a 7-2 guy last night. I just want to give you this too. Twitter did a one of those maps, the geotag data from the weekend, and we're able to track which states were rooting for who. 74% of the United States was rooting for Purdue.
Yeah. Well,
and I mean, it was like the Northeast. Obviously, UConn dominated the Northeast, and then they had random ass North Carolina, Montana, and
North Carolina because of the Hurley factor.
I guess. And then Washington, Oregon, and California all were rooting for UConn, and so it was random Alaska. But I mean, I just.
Or was it Washington, Oregon, and California?
Yeah.
You know why?
I don't.
Those are now Big Ten schools, or Big Ten states, and those teams do not like the fact that Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA are leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. So they're hate watching.
You think?
Yep.
It's an interesting theory. And it is curious that right down the Pacific Seaboard, they were all rooting for UConn, but all the gold in the middle of the country, all representing.
Yeah, it was nauseating.
Yeah.
He's nauseating. I agree with that. Can't stand it. Yeah. College basketball, man.
Well, look, I mean, it's over. What I said was a strong statement, but I'm telling you how I feel. Probably now is not the best time to say it because the emotions are raw. But Hurley, man, I mean, this guy.
Well, they were even chastising him during the game. The announcers are like, "Oh, I didn't know this." They were asking the question: "Is this normally what he does?"
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had a talk with his father afterwards or at halftime because he's come out with a different attitude in the second half.
So, I do want to bring up Camden Heidi's putback dunk was insane. It had no bearing on the outcome of the game. At the time, I think Purdue was down 9. Edey might have been on the bench resting. He might have been, I can't remember, but it was starting to slip away from Purdue. And that putback dunk was the most out of the blue wow moment on the night. A kid played like 15 minutes, went 1 for 1 from the floor with 1 offensive rebound. I mean, that was his contribution. But when he flushed that back down, it just timed out perfectly for him. And it was an amazing highlight. Now.
Was it one shining moment?
It made the one shining moment. It did make one shining moment. his one rebound /
His
field
literal
goal attempt.
one moment.
It was his one moment. But I mean, Fletcher Lawyer went 0 for the game it didn't score. I thought Lance Jones was the most critical player for Purdue. He didn't do anything. Braden Smith fought hard, but
it was a nice dunk.
Yeah. Yes. It was incredible.
It was a great dunk.
It had zero to do with the outcome of the game.
Well, you thought it might.
I thought it might.
At that moment, if they would have got a turnover or a stop, come down, hit a three, you're like, okay, that was the jumping off point. Yeah. But nothing.
It's quite a contribution he made.
Yeah.
In 15 minutes, he took one shot. That was it. And grabbed one rebound. Yeah.
Yeah. That's his one moment.
It's his one moment.
Yeah. Everything.
248-539-9797. Tigers. We'll get to some Tiger stuff. You want to continue the Red Wing discussion? It's Carson. Okay, let's take 10 texts.
Oh.
Let's take 10 texts. Right now, UConn plays Duke.
Oh, come on. Why? No.
If UConn plays Duke, who are you rooting for?
Do you hate our audience?
No.
Then why are you asking that question?
Because I want to find out if anybody feels the same way I do.
Oh, my God.
Go Duke. 10 texts. UConn plays Duke. First 10.
Oh.
And sign your text, please, so we know who sent them in. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Before we get to the 10 texts, there's some feedback coming in. You guys sound lame. Hurley's an awesome coach. Why wouldn't you want your coach putting everything into winning, including his emotions? Back-to-back championships. Who wouldn't want that?
It's like Tom Green. Oh, did I say it?
Wow.
Kind of is, though, right? Demonstrative, whining, annoying. He's got that face.
Yep.
He's great. He's a hell of a coach.
Eric writes in, I got your back, dude. He's out of control. John in Lake Orion, Doug's right. This was one of the most boring tournaments in recent memory. I fear UConn could be a new UCLA, and this could go on for years. From Aaron in Walled Lake, a Michigan State fan. I thought Izzo complained a lot. Hurley is an obnoxious slime ball. Next text, unnamed texter. For as annoying as Hurley is, let's just remember he's the second most annoying head coach in last night's game. You think Painter is more annoying than Hurley?
Painter's completely harmless, isn't he?
I don't know anybody who has any animosity towards Matt Painter other than this guy. Steve in a truck. I think Doug doesn't like UConn because their mascot is the Huskies. Doug hates dogs.
Wow.
Weird.
Doug does not hate dogs.
No,
Doug just doesn't want a dog.
No. But very, very weird. All right, here we go. UConn or Duke? They're playing. Who are you rooting for? From Brian in a UPS truck. UConn all day. Duke's my least favorite team in any sport. From CJ, Duke all the way. From Jeremy, Duke, no Coach K. From
Still
RC.
Duke.
Well, there's so it's 2-1 Duke for Duke over UConn. From RC downriver, UConn, F Duke, 2-2. My UConn hate is so new. I've hated Duke for so long. I got to root for UConn. I'm rooting for UConn. That's from Mike and Davison. Jordan in a truck, Duke. Roy in a loader, Duke. Jerry in Ferndale, UConn versus Duke. I'm rooting for a giant meteor. That's not an answer. Kyle writes in, I'm rooting for UConn. I'd rather root for an annoying team than one that's annoying and has dirty players.
Let me ask this uncomfortable question.
Okay.
We agree he's a really good coach. We just find him terribly annoying, right?
Yep.
Would you want him coaching the Pistons?
No, I don't think it would work. I think the college coach.
College jump is just
I think the college coach. Like, I don't think Izzo would work.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, and when you are that, the college coach is in charge at the college level. It's his team in his image, and he's the guy. And they do what he says, not as much as they used to. At the NBA level, the coach's job is to keep everybody happy and find a way to get the most out of them when it matters. Because like in the NBA, I feel like a coach is sitting there a whole bunch of the time just working his way through rotations. I'm sure it's more complex than that. I just feel like the NBA coach, it's as much ego managing as it is the college game. It's about the coach's ego. So, no, I wouldn't want him coaching the Pistons. But, I mean, Michigan just got a coach. If they hired Danny Hurley, it'd be considered a great hire, but that would have been ugly. If Izzo retires and Danny Hurley takes the Michigan State job.
Go green.
Yeah. I mean, these are his success. Like, the way his team plays defense is wildly impressive. I'm just not a fan.
No, I get it. And
of Danny Hurley in particular.
Yeah, and I asked the question because I know that the success rate is not high for college coaches going to the NBA. There are exceptions, but typically it's not something that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of the reasons you said, I think the number one reason is you do have control of the players in college. You can control everything. In the pros, you're hired to get fired. It's a player's league.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, people would still root for UConn over Duke, although we had one non-answer, so it was 5-4, and then one vote for a meteor. But that alone speaks to where people are with UConn, that they're pushing Duke for detestability. 248-539-9797. All right, so Gator sent us a text last night. You came across one of the most annoying things there is out there that we all have to deal with.
Yeah.
And it is so easily corrected. And it leads to some of my greatest frustrations. And I've been burned on this so many times. It doesn't happen as much anymore because I know it's coming. But tell the people what happened to you last night.
Well, I was purchasing tickets to see the Brit Floyd show at the Fox Theater. Brit Floyd is a tribute band for Pink Floyd, and they tour internationally, and they're fantastic. I've seen videos of them on PBS. They're awesome, and my brother's a massive Pink Floyd fan, and he and I have gone to see Pink Floyd play at the Silverdome back in the day, and then we've seen Roger Waters perform. Love Pink Floyd, and I thought let's go to the show. So he and I are talking. Yeah, let's do this. So at the Fox, it's going to be a nice little venue, very visual show. Most seats are going to be good, but I wanted the best seats I could find, so I paid a little extra. I looked for some seats, and I found them. And when I'm checking out, okay, $125 a piece is steep.
Stop right there, Gator. How many people know what's coming? Continue, Gator.
So as I'm going through the various stages of check, and there's a ton of stages to check out, and finally I get there, and it's like, okay, here you go, your 2 tickets for, and I'm looking at the receipt right now. 2 tickets, $249.76, tells me what section, what row, what seats. Great, awesome, here's what's all included, here we go. And then I'm looking at the payment information. The subtotal, $249.76. Taxes, 0. Okay. Total fees with an asterisk, which says includes all applicable service, delivery, and transactional fees. $93.36. For a grand total of $343.12.
So you bought $225 tickets for $343.46.
$93.36 in fees. What?
Yep.
I mean, I know there's fees associated with it, right?
Yep.
I did not expect each ticket to have 46 and change in fees. Which gets to, I know what you're going to say, so say it.
What companies think we want to know what part of the price is? We want to know the whole price.
Give me the price.
We don't want to know what part of the price is. Part of the price is the ticket. Got it. But if I'm at Home Depot and I'm buying a hammer, and the hammer is on the shelf and the tag says $11, and I walk up to checkout and they say that'll be $18, and I go, what, that said $11? And they said, we have to pay for the shipping that it cost us to get the hammer to the store. Right. Nobody else does this, but there's online tickets and home rentals, VRBO, they give us part of the price. Stop doing that.
And then I started asking myself, would I have paid if I saw that they were $175 each? Would I have paid that? And I'm thinking I probably wouldn't have, But clearly I did, because in the end I had the option to not do it.
Yeah, you actually did.
Actually, I think I clicked too far by the point I had already accepted, and I'm like, wait a minute, did that say $343? Huh? Because I went to a couple different sites last night to purchase tickets. The first one didn't have seats for $125. I think the cheapest seat I found there was like $150. So when I went to this other site, I'm like, wait, well, these seats are great seats. And for $125, sold. I literally said that to myself, sold. Here we go. And then only to find out that there are $93.36 attached in fees to this original cost of $249.
It's incredible, and they're exorbitant, and it's more frustrating than anything because, we know better. We all see it, but when it happens, you're just like, F you, man. F you.
Yeah, that was Bogue, Doug.
Very Bogue. Paul, you're on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Paul.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
So after we found out that Michigan was playing Alabama in the Rose Bowl, I decided to get tickets and take my son.
Yep.
So I'm looking. I paid $450 a piece for the tickets. 2 tickets.
Yep.
When I got to the end of checkout, okay, $450, right? We can both add, right? That's $900. My end result was over $1,200, and I looked at it, and I had to go through with it because I'd already told my son, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to not go over this, but it was over $175 per ticket in service fees and their whatever they call their fees, $175 a piece. So I paid $350 on top of the $450 per ticket.
It's the worst. It is so frustrating, and I find myself, I don't know what recourse we necessarily have, because if the fee is part of the price, then show us what the price is from the very beginning.
Yeah, if you're going to let me know that there's going to be 27% tacked on afterwards, because that's what it ends up being. The fees are 27% of the total price.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Well, we didn't include the toilet paper. 248-539-9797. More of your phone calls and feedback coming up. And there is news from the Red Wings morning pregame skate. We will get to that at 11:35 here on 97.1. So you are going, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see it. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
You're just a little bitter.
Yeah.
I get it, man. We're going to show you part of the price, and you're going to tell people, hey, I scored tickets, or I got us a Verbo, or whatever, and then you go to click and pay for it, and like, wait, that's almost twice as much. What are we doing? And it's fees, and
we just have to take it, I guess. I mean, I'm not the first one. I'm not pretending I'm the first one to complain about this.
No, you're not.
We've even talked about it on the show before.
We've talked about it.
This is the first time where it's really kind of bitten me, and I'm pissed about it. I'm bitter about it. I was pissed for people before. It's like there's a couple things in life that you're like, come on, man. And then when you start to question it, and they have this BS way of justifying it. This is one, the fees on tickets. The other one is when you're closing on a house, or when you're closing on a refinance or a loan or something like that.
Yep.
And then you got all the fees. Like, what? What are these fees for? Yep. What am I paying all this for? No, I bought the house for $200,000. No, you didn't.
It's just I don't want to know part of the price. I want to know the whole price.
Right. You've got another $20,000 in closing fees. Like, what? It's okay. We'll roll it into the loan. I don't want to roll it into the loan.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
248-539-9797. Kyle, you're next. What's up, Kyle?
How's it going, Doug and Gator?
Yeah, I'm getting worked up.
yeah, you're salty, and I got a good story for you. So when Rage Against the Machine went across North America last year, one of my bucket list bands, probably the only band I've ever wanted to see that I haven't seen that are still alive, have all 4 original members. I bought front row tickets to see them, and it was $400 a piece. But because I'm Canadian and I was buying something from America, there was an exchange rate increase. There was Ticketmaster increase. There was taxes on it. And I ended up paying $1,600 Canadian money for 2 front row tickets. Wow. Then I tell my wife that I did it. And she's like, I don't want to be in a mosh pit at Rage Against the Machine.
That's a good point.
So then I'm like, okay, I got a 20-year-old nephew. I told my sister and my brother-in-law, we are going to make sure he doesn't do anything that day. We are going to, I'm going to show up, and I'm like, buddy, we're going to Rage at LCA, and it's front row, and it's going to be awesome. Then the singer breaks his foot, and then the tour gets canceled, and then I had to wait a year to get my money back.
Oh, my God. That's awful.
So I didn't even get to see Rage. I didn't even get to see him.
Well, I'm sorry about that. And fees and service fees and additional overcharge, it all sucks. But please just show us the price. Don't show us the fake price or part of the price. All right, I mentioned news from Red Wings this morning. Derek Lalonde, according to all the beat writers, most side are expected to play tonight after waking up with a bit of the flu. Great.
He's supposed to play?
Supposed to play.
This is what's brutal.
Yep. Don't, please.
I mean,
don't not play.
Well, I mean, this is what I talked about before. When I bring this up and I said the flu has been running through the room over the last month.
Feels like it.
And you've got guys that are just starting to get it, but they're going to play, but they're not going to be optimum. You have guys that have it that are out. And you have guys that are getting over it that are playing that are not optimum. So let's hope Mo's okay, because as important as this game is, so is Thursday's game.
Yep. Red Wings and Capitals in the biggest hockey game in LCA's history.
Why can't we have nice things?
Well, it's not. We still may have nice things. I don't know. Most side are having a, quote, bit of the flu. He's playing really well. 27 minutes he was on the ice against Buffalo. Over 27 minutes. I mean, I talk about a guy that Derek Lalonde is leaning on, that this team trusts.
That's okay. The game went to overtime, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It didn't.
It did not. Oh, boy.
That's amazing.
That's like Zach Edey, right? Playing with Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
He said no. He played 39 minutes in the game last night. If you look at his minute totals throughout the tournament, they're insane.
All right, Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon. They lose yesterday at Pittsburgh 7-4. They're now 6-4 on the year. The second inning was frustrating. That's where Reese Olson gave up a couple of infield bleeders that ended up being part of a rally that gave Pittsburgh a 4-1 lead and a 5-1 lead. And Tigers chipped and clawed and got back into the game and actually loaded the bases down 7-4 in the 8th inning. And Aroldis Chapman came in and I think he threw 7 pitches, and 5 of the 7, he really did a good job of painting the corners. And the last pitch he threw to Javi Baez, the strike, and Baez swung and missed. It looked like it was top of the zone, but in the zone. It wasn't a typical Javi Baez swinging at a pitch that's halfway to West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm not booing Javi Baez because he struck out against Aroldis Chapman, throwing 101 miles an hour.
Wenzel Perez then came up and struck out on 3 pitches against Aroldis Chapman. Tough spot.
Well, yeah, particularly when you drop in a slider and you're expecting fastball, so you're handcuffed, and then he throws 101 on the lower black. Good luck.
There's a lot of people upset with how they've gotten to here, but here's what they are, okay? They are a team that the pitching has to hold up. And Reese Olson did start to get hit hard. I thought he had some bad luck early, but then they barreled him up pretty good. The Tigers just need their pitching. If they're going to win, more often than not, the formula is pitching and defense and just enough offense. And if you look at the last 4 games, the pitching wasn't what it was the first, 6 games. So we know the formula. It's not complicated. It's not something that, maybe the hitting gets better. I suspect that it will in some regards. We thought that the pitching wasn't going to be as good as it was in the beginning of the year, but it's been pretty bad last few games. Bottom line here is this team needs to pitch better. That they're capable of, and we've seen it, and it was expected coming in. There's hope that hitters develop, but it was expected that the pitching was going to be good. Pitching's just got to be better. Yeah, and I got it. Hitting's the real problem, but they are what they are. How do they get wins anyway?
Well, you got to lean on what your strength is. And unfortunately, Reese Olson got kind of nickel and dimed a little bit last night, and then they had some bigger hits. And when all is said and done, you allow 12 base runners in 4 1/3 innings, you're not going to win many ball games. The lineup did provide some reasonable excitement. They had guys on base, but they couldn't come up with the big hit when they needed it to. They had bases loaded, and Javi Baez was up, and unfortunately Javi struck out. But as they showed the stat on TV a couple times now. Javi's numbers last year were horrible, but they were actually quite good in pressure situations. So kind of hoping that was going to happen last night, but here comes 101 out of the bullpen, and good luck with that. But they just couldn't get that big hit when they needed to. But is it a good sign watching Riley Green crush one to the opposite way, and it goes all the way to the wall? The left fielder made the catch and then banged on the wall and dropped it. But nonetheless, to have that kind of power to go the opposite way like that, is it encouraging that Spencer Torkelson, ripped another double down the line? Is it encouraging that Colt Keith had a couple of hits in the game, and now he's hitting 250 on the season? As I said, just let one, get 2 hits in one game, and this early in the year, your average is going to go up. There's some encouraging signs. Even with Wenzel Perez, his 2 at-bats, second one outmatched, but the first one hits a line drive to right field. Okay, good contact. We need to see good contact from the hitters. It wasn't terrible. Now, the 12 overall strikeouts in the game, that's still an issue with this team, isn't it?
Yep. 248-539-9797. Tigers with an afternoon game at Pittsburgh. Coverage starts at 12:10. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Dingers, blasts, moonshots, whatever you call them. Everyone loves the home run, right? Well, with FanDuel's Dinger Tuesdays, you can love them even more. That's right. Dinger Tuesdays are back for another season on America's #1 sportsbook. Just bet on a player to homer, and FanDuel gives you $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit during that game. If you need another reason to love the long ball, that's $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit during the game. Visit FanDuel.com/Doug to get in on all the Dinger Tuesday action. That's FanDuel.com/Doug. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Maximum bonus is $25 per game. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97 on the ticket. We got open lines, 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback, tweets. All right, let's talk to the people. Joe, you're on 97 on the ticket. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Doug and Gator. I just kind of wanted to weigh in on the whole ticket fee surprise thing. And, you know, I'm blessed to be a Michigan fan and actually a Philadelphia sports fan, transplanted here in Michigan. But done a lot of exploring over the last few years because of the big games that are there. You know, obviously the big games, you know, they're higher ticket prices, so those fees are kind of percentage based. And I found, you know, there's certain platforms that actually, you know, you can get it straight out, you know, all in fee. You can either, there's like a selection thing to include the fees, or, you know, I'm not sure if I can say the name of the one platform that I go to, but I think my advice is, like, basically going to the platforms that are going to play it out straight, so you don't get surprised like Gator did.
So, wait, are you saying that many platforms do this, or only some of them?
There's a few that have realized the frustration of us fans, and there's a few of them that I've found that are using it as an edge competition-wise and putting it out there where, I mean, am I allowed to say one of the platforms?
I don't think that you're not allowed to, so go ahead.
Yeah, so TickPick is one, and TickPick is their whole MO, their whole competitive advantage is that they will come straight with the all-in fee. There's no surprises. You don't have to like get to the point where you're putting your credit card in to finally find a fee like some of the bigger players. So that's their way to kind of break into the market.
That definitely has an appeal, Joe.
Yep, I'm looking at right now.
Definitely has an appeal.
I went to TickPick, and I'm looking right now that you can get into tonight's Red Wing game. 4 tickets together, $94 a ticket, all in. That's the price.
Yeah. Yeah, and so my opinion is, and my advice to you, Gator, is, and you know, every platform doesn't carry every event, so that's the problem. Sometimes you're stuck based on an event. Yeah. But when in doubt, that's the platform I go to because they're straight players, you know?
I like it. No, thank you for sharing, Joe. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, they make the same amount of money. It's just they'll let you know, here's the price.
We're just not fooled up front. All right, so Gator, I heard a call this morning as we get ready for this Tiger-Pittsburgh game this afternoon. Somebody said this Tiger team is going to be, I think he said trash. He said, what are they going to win, 70, 80 games? And I started thinking to myself, there's a huge difference between winning 70 games and winning 80 games.
This is true.
Yep. And our hope is that this team can creep above 500. We think it's a realistic goal to maybe get above 500 and maybe be close enough to add a piece to be a factor in the division. They're 6-4, and I feel like panic set in as quickly as enthusiasm did last week. And this is a team, again, we talked earlier in the show about the arrow. They've gone from 66 wins to 78 wins to a team whose over-under in Vegas was 79. Isn't that what it was?
78 or 79. Something.
Yeah. So they're sitting at a place here where if they get to 81, even if they get to 80, as the guy said, that's another step in the right direction with a team that is really young. I mean, has really got a lot of young pieces. Now, I mean, it's not like the youngest team ever, but things would have to go right for them to get there. And so far, some things have not gone right, and they've still gotten to 6-4. This is what 500-ish teams do. We shouldn't be totally shocked that they've had a bad stretch of baseball here, right?
No, we're not totally shocked at all. I think people were expecting, remember, because of who they played to start off the season.
Yep.
You sweep the White Sox, okay, great, kind of expected that. Take 2 out of 3 the next series. But again, you're not thinking the Mets are anything special. But the Oakland A's come to town, and they're not one of the better teams in baseball, but they own the Tigers at Comerica Park.
Oddly.
It is really strange. And go through that series and lose the last 2. And now you lose this game last night, and you start to have Red Wing flashbacks. Hey, remember when we won 6 in a row and then lost the next 7?
Yeah. I think they also might be having Piston flashbacks. Remember when we started 2-1 and then eventually lost 28 in a row? Like, I think there's a little bit of that might be creeping in too.
I want to sit with a Red Wing analogy. because I think the Tigers are more like the Red Wings than they are the Pistons, certainly. I think both teams are mediocre to slightly better than mediocre teams. And in the NHL, you can be mediocre and make the playoffs because half the teams do. Baseball is close to that, but it's not quite there. And the Tigers have a chance to be competitive in their division and win the division. Because we're 2 weeks into the season here. It no longer looks in 2 weeks like it's Minnesota's to have. It's like Cleveland has shown up, and it's a pretty good baseball team. The Tigers have gotten off to a better start, though. They've lost 3 in a row. get off the schneid and let's stop this losing streak today and move forward. And I think we've got maybe a 3-horse race in this division. And Kansas City is probably saying, don't forget about us. We're a young team, and we think we've got some talent too.
Yeah, I'm not fired up over what's happened the last 4 games here, but I'm also not shocked. And they did win the first of them. It was an ugly game against the A's, but I'm not shocked. But they just have to pitch.
Yeah, well, the part that concerns me a little bit, or it's not even a concern, I guess it's something that raises an eyebrow, is the Tigers did win that first game against the A's, but they didn't do it with pitching.
No.
And it's not like it's not like Tarek Skubal had a great day.
No.
But the bullpen showed up, the offense did enough, and they won the game.
And look, we suspect there are some guys that are going to be better, but we don't know. Like Torque. Torque's a concern.
But hit a double last night.
Yep.
It's third of the year already.
Yep. But there's nothing that's happened so far this Tiger season that has been, oh my God, that's way, way ridiculous. It's either good or bad. The start was fun. And the problem is all through that entire start conversation, when we were talking about the start, how many times we said, we know the caveats. We know it's early. We know there's a small sample size. Right. We know who they've played. But that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about what they're doing.
No, right. It's still funny. It's a day later, and it's still the two guys that kind of stand out offensively when you look at numbers are Gio Urshela and Mark Canha. Mark Canha's hitting 207, but his on-base percentage is 395. Drew another walk last night. Gio Urshela goes 1 for 2 last night. He's hitting 370 with a 370 on-base percentage. Maybe draw a walk once in a while, but hey, he's hitting, and that's the position everybody was up in arms about. What are they doing in third base? Well, this is working out right now, but it's not what the fans wanted.
No, and
initially,
and hopefully they can turn this thing around and start to play a little bit. Get back to the pitching more than anything else. Like that right now is below what the expectation is.
It's up to Casey Mize today to see if he can calm the bats of the Pittsburgh Pirates as they've been able to kind of run roughshod over the league. 9-2 start for Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Mize making his second start of the season.
So Pittsburgh's like Detroit, team that's expected to be 500-ish. I think the win total might actually be a little bit lower than Detroit, and they've carried their hot start deeper. They've managed to keep it up, and I'm sure Detroit's going to win another baseball game this year. I'm pretty confident.
Well, let's hope it starts with this afternoon.
Yep. Meanwhile, Mize, most important stat for Casey Mize, said it a bunch this year, is get to 30 starts. Pitch well enough to justify that they keep putting you out there. His first game, was some good and bad. He took on water. I think it was 2 outs it was that Mets game, 2 outs in the second inning, 2 outs in the third inning, hit a batter, and then 4 straight got on and kind of derailed him. So looking for more from Casey Mize today. 248-539-9797. Tiger baseball coming up today at 12:10. It's Carson Anderson, huge Red Wing game tonight. We'll get into some stuff with that coming up shortly here on 97.1 The Ticket. And just a reminder, you can stream the show and all of our shows here with the Odyssey app. Download it for your mobile device today. AUDACY. You can also stream to our website, 971theticket.com, where Ev has posted the champ and chump of the weekend as voted on by the people yesterday. Go see who won champ and chump of the weekend by going to 971theticket.com. It's Carson Anderson here on 97.1. Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon. Carson Anderson, 97-1 a ticket. Huge Red Wing game tonight. I'm starting to get that kind of nervous energy feeling because it feels like win this game, and they are in incredibly good position. Still work to do, but not only will they move 3 points ahead of Washington, who's nipping at their heels here in this chase for that wild card playoff spot. I was just talking to Brian Fisher, who does podcast, Red Wing podcast, and works over at our brother station, WWJ. He made the point that the Red Wings would take back the tiebreaker over Washington in that case, which is huge. And it could have Detroit move past the Islanders, meaning those teams are trying to reel in the Islanders more than they're trying to reel in the Red Wings. Pittsburgh, Washington, Philadelphia, because they are all in their division. So there's a lot riding on this game tonight. Man, just hope that they can get the job done and get that 3-point lead over Washington. And this feels like it feels like everything. It's all built up to tonight, Gator. It's all built up to tonight.
Well, it's a big one. It's I'm going to the game. I'm excited to go to the game. Excited to see this one play out. And these next two games, Washington and Pittsburgh, it doesn't get bigger than this. Is playoff hockey, right? We wanted playoff hockey. We got it. It's at the end of the season here, and if they do well enough, the playoffs extend into the actual playoffs. But right now, make no mistake, these next few games are playoff hockey for the Red Wings.
Mo Sider, we reported earlier about the bit of touch of the flu. He didn't skate this morning. He is expected to play tonight. How important has he become? We talked about the 10 block shots in that Buffalo game and logging 27 minutes and 7 seconds of ice time. When a guy's coming off the flu, if he has the flu, if he's slowed by illness, I don't know that he gets 27 minutes tonight, Scott.
No, I can't imagine he's going to get the 27 minutes.
No.
I doubt it. I don't feel good about this. When somebody starts the day with a touch of the flu, that doesn't seem like that's something that goes away quickly. You know, like, oh, yeah, no, he's good to play tonight. I mean, is he just hooked up to constant IVs all day long?
Yep. Meanwhile, Washington's been in a free fall. Remember when Detroit wasn't playing well and they went on that losing streak that took them out of the playoffs? Washington has lost 6 consecutive games in regulation. 6 consecutive games in regulation. They also are a team that has seen their goal differential go from, they're now at minus 41. Wow. Minus 41 is their goal differential, which is really bad.
It's strange to see a team that's that close to making the playoffs and that's what their goal differential
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's only 5 teams in the league with a worse goal differential than that.
Well, that tells you they give up goals.
Mm-hmm.
They also score goals.
Yep.
And the other thing to keep in mind in the last 5 games for the Red Wings, what's important? It's important to win in regulation because it's a tiebreaker. So having those regulation wins is pretty important.
Yesterday, I made a call to action. I said, this guy steps up and Purdue wins. Lance Jones. He did not. They lost. You have made a call to action for Alex DeBrincat to step up here at this portion of the season.
He steps up. This team makes the playoffs. He steps up in the playoffs, and this team can disrupt some teams. They may win a first. They could win a first round matchup if he's the Alex DeBrincat we saw through the first 2/3 of the season, which was point a game Alex DeBrincat. Because then you have 2 legitimate scoring lines out there. You know, they're tinkering with the second line right now. Who's going to play center between DeBrincat and Kane? You know, it has been, I think, Comfer, and then they put Sarnik in there the other game.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, tinkering this late in the season makes me nervous, but whatever's going to work is going to work. Having Kane and DeBrincat out there together, that's really what matters, is those two know what each other can do.
So the skate today, Larkin was centering Perron and Raymond, Comfort between Kane and DeBrincat, Kopp between Fisher and Fabry, Zarnik between Sprong and Veleno.
So they put Zarnik back on the checking line.
Yep. They have Wallman skating with Sherratt in for Sider. Sider wasn't skating this morning. So
Wallman's another one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They gave him a contract. and he's been in and out of the lineup. He's had some injuries, and then he's also just been out of the lineup sometimes. And it's strange because it was like I was going to be Mo Sider's guy, and then it became Sherrod.
Yep. The other young player that has really been a find for them, or they expected eventually him to make an impact, is Simon Edvinson. The stretch of games before he got called up. All right, so he's been here for 9 games. They were 1-8 in the 9 leading up to his being called up. They were allowing 4.8 goals per game. Wow. Since he's been called up, 4 wins, 3 ties, 2 overtime wins. So 6 wins out of 9 games, and the goals per game, 2 full goals less, 2.8. Now, it coincided with Larkin getting healthy. But this was pointed out in a good story by the Birchie Kid on our website, 971theticket.com. Check it out for yourself. Anyway, this is one of those points of contention. It's all awesome and everything, but I'm sure people are going to ask, why didn't they do it sooner?
Yeah, I don't. That's not going to bother me here. I just want to see growth, and they've played much better since he's entered the lineup. I'm glad you mentioned the Larkin stuff too, because that does help out. But dropping 2 goals a game is massive. Mm-hmm. The 2.8 number is still high. There's nothing to write home about when you give up 2.8 goals per game. You'd like to get that down somewhere below 2.5 and feel much better about it. But I like the direction they're going. I would love to see an offseason where we come into the fall and then Simon Edvinson is bulked up. He's put muscle on that frame because he is a large individual, and right now he's large and lanky. He's learning on the fly what the NHL game's about, but he's a very quick study. I like what I see from Simon Edvinson.
Well, the one thing that became clear today is when we started talking about the Red Wings and this hockey game, fans feel like it's the fans that reached out to us today. There was a good portion of you that really feel like this is do or die for Lalonde. Some people think it's do or die for Yzerman. I don't think that is or should be the case necessarily. I understand the importance of it, and I'm not at that point yet. I think if you miss the playoffs, if they lose this game tonight, they're behind the 8 ball, but they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. They're not out of it. Now with a Washington team that's not been playing well, and a Red Wing team that I thought in the loss to Florida started to look like their old selves. And they haven't won every game since then, but I thought they started to look like their old selves.
They're playing better hockey. You play stronger in front of the net, give the goaltender some confidence, and then he'll play better. And Alex Lyon has played better. And this something to keep an eye on. Just keep an eye on. Ville Husso is coming back to make some starts at Grand Rapids.
I saw you put that in your show sheet, and I was intrigued as to why.
Well, I'm just saying keep an eye on that. Ville Husso was supposed to be the number 1 goaltender in his team, and he's battled a number of injuries and has not looked good when he was out there. He's not going to have a whole lot of time to get himself ready to go here, but he is going to have some time, some starts. I'm just curious to see what he can offer. If he's good, let's say he's good at Grand Rapids, does that bode well for what's to come the rest of the season for the Red Wings, which is hopefully a postseason? Does that push Alex Lyon to say, wait a minute, I got this guy who's breathing on my neck here, man. I need to step up my game.
The only problem I have with that is that it implies that at some point Lyon doesn't look good for an extended stretch.
Well, nobody wants that.
And if Lyon doesn't look good now, it's probably too late. It's not like it's the middle of the season, the clock's ticking. But I hear you. He is a forgotten man, and maybe he can be something, but
this is not a Chris Osgood, Mike Vernon situation.
Yeah.
They're neither or either.
Maybe emergency break glass if somebody gets hurt. But massive hockey game tonight, massive 8 days for the Detroit Red Wings. Tiger baseball coming up next. See if they can get back on their winning ways. It's Carson Anderson. Stay safe. Treat each other with respect.
Curveball hit hard out in the left field. It's in there for a base hit. Hart may have a shot at Brock. Here comes the throw. John Ward lets it go, and he runs over 300. They got it.
The crack of the bat.
There's a swing, and there's another drive to left. It's deep, and this one is gone. The second home run by Travel. Whitaker scores.
The roar of the crowd.
Into a mob scene at home. Walk-off winner.
It's
unbelievable. It's magic here in this ballpark.
The love of your team.
You Tiger fans are the greatest fans of all. No question about that.
A 124-year tradition continues. This is Detroit Tigers Baseball on the Detroit Tigers Radio Network. Brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, committed to providing members access to care they need whenever and wherever they need it. From the Metro Detroit Buick GMC Dealers broadcast booth, let's join the voices of Tigers Baseball, Dan Dickerson and Bobby Scales.
Hello again, everyone. Getting ready to wrap up this quick two-game trip to Pittsburgh. Tigers lost to the Pirates yesterday 7-4. We've talked a lot about the bats, Bobby. Struggles for starting pitchers the last 2 days, so really you look to Casey Mize to stop this little skid for the Tigers.
Yeah, it's important Casey Mize have a good start, a very effective start, and quite frankly, too, see if he can go as deep as he can into the game. Tiger bullpen, not stressed, but a little bit out of position from where they would like to be, especially with the homestand coming up.
Final line for Casey Mize in his first start in almost 2 years on a major league mound wasn't great, but there were a lot of positives. He felt very good coming out of it. The stuff looked good, and we're looking for a good start for him against these Pirates today. Stay with us. A conversation with manager A.J. Hinch about last night's game and some of the things he's seeing with the offense coming up after this on the Detroit Tigers Radio Network.
You can be in the office mode or weekend warrior mode. Either way, GMC Terrain has a mode for you. Want a mode for everything? GMC Terrain. Just announced